Uh, uh, uh.
Hello and
Gay. Congratulations, Random. You are first. I think there were some new ones from Fern. That might be good. Oh yeah, Aldi kidnapping.
This is the CEO of the parent company of Trader Joe's and Aldi. He has just finished work and is heading home for the day. Parked next to him is a Mercedes 280, the same model his boss is driving.
Mason.
But it appears to be someone else's car. His boss left earlier anyways and should long be home by now. What he can't see is that his boss is tied up in the back seat, just 3 meters away from him, gagged and held at gunpoint. He has been kidnapped, and this really is his car. This, right here, is the beginning of the biggest kidnapping in German history. The man in the backseat is Theo Albrecht, one of the two brothers who founded the global discount supermarket chain Aldi and one of the richest people in Europe. At this point in time, Aldi is already taking over Germany. Soon, it'll conquer the world. Theo Albrecht and his brother will forever change the way people do grocery shopping, how much they spend on it, and how supermarkets work in general. But right now, he's not thinking about business. He's thinking about staying alive.
You're not gay today? You sure about that, faggot? When do I get my 50% stream revenue for being mod? I don't know where you get some of these ideas, Gig.
So wie es uns gefällt, reißt die Zelt ab Spatz wie im Eiltempo, einmal die Welt von unserem Wuppertal.
This is Theo, and this is his brother Karl. They're the Albrecht brothers. Their parents own a small grocery shop in the West German city of Essen. It's small and simple. The brothers grow up helping out where they can, but it's a tough time for selling groceries, or anything really. There was the hyperinflation in 1923, the Great Depression of 1929, Germany bombed to rubble in 1945, and the currency reform of 1948. Most Germans are broke and hungry. Theo is in his mid-20s when he and Karl take over the family shop. They know they have to be smart to make it through these difficult times. In this bare-bones store, the two will develop a set of principles that will revolutionize the concept of supermarkets as we know it. This is Hannah. She's in her early 20s and from another West German city called Dusseldorf. She comes from money, and right now she's head over heels in love with this guy. He's a bit older, as in almost 30 years older. A lawyer with a firm in downtown Dusseldorf. He too is rich. He drives flashy cars, takes luxury vacations, and somehow always wins at the roulette table. Well, almost always. The other day, his luck ran out. He had to borrow 300,000 Deutsche Marks from Hannah, but that's not going to bother her tonight. Tonight they'll enjoy themselves at a ball. Hannah will have this photo framed and put up in her bedroom. She has no idea it'll go global just a few months later. Interpol will use it for their manhunt to bring down the mastermind behind Germany's most high-profile kidnapping.
Oh, okay.
Hannah's big shot lawyer
He looks like Goring.
boyfriend is called Heinz Joachim Ohlenburg, and right now he's got a problem. He and his partner just kidnapped one of the richest men in the country, and they have absolutely no idea what to do next. To be fair, it's their first kidnapping. Also, Ohlenburg's day job is entirely different. He forged his high school diploma to get into law school. He's been divorced twice and keeps having affairs with young women. These days, he's representing pretty shady clients, loan sharks, small-time crooks, and professional criminals. Now he needs cash, lots of it, and fast. 700,000 Deutsche Marks. He owes not only Hannah a couple of grand, but also a few relatives and even 2 serious felons. One of them is this guy here, Diamond Paul. His real name is Paul Kron. He's a trained car mechanic by day and a safecracker by night. He breaks into banks and department stores and snatches their cash deposits. He got caught once and did a few years behind bars. He swore he was done with that life when he got out, but he still has that one dream. A house on the Spanish Mediterranean coast. He even has a name for it, Casa Paulo. The land is already paid for.
Sego donate $2. Let me see. Frank Tufano.
Eye surgery under anesthesia here in Japan, attempting to
Oh my god. He went to fucking Japan for cosmetic surgery. The guy's so desperate. Holy shit.
reconstruct my orbit that was, from the Taban nightmare disaster. So everything seemed to go well. I mean, I trusted the doctor enough that I didn't make a video before asking you guys to pray for me. I'm getting eye surgery again, so we didn't do that. I think everything went well. I'm sure the swelling hasn't settled in yet. I mean, if this is how my eyes are going to look after, I think they look really good. I think it's going to look really good, but, are they going to sink back in? Is it going to get better or worse first? It's hard to say. I've always been concerned about, even if I do fix this, am I going to have to get more surgeries on the eyelids and stuff to fix things? But all I can do is wait for it to heal up and be patient, and we'll see what happens.
Dude, he is the lolcow that just keeps on giving. It's just gonna be a never-ending fucking saga. Thanks for the donation, Sego. Sam Sulik pulled up to the Ruby to watch Dill Chance compete. That's cool.
Now he just needs the money to build it. But his day job pays less than 2,000 Deutsche Marks a month. That is not going to cut it. The kidnapping was his idea. One last job, and they go off-grid forever. The morning after the kidnapping, they don't know where to stash their millionaire, so Paul spent the night with him in his garage, with Theo Albrecht tied up and blindfolded next to him in the passenger seat. Albrecht's wife already knows. They called her the night before the kidnapping. They promised her husband would come back unharmed as long as she stayed quiet. No cops, no press. Now they just need to figure out what to do with him. First, they need to bring him somewhere safe, quietly, so that no one will recognize him. But how do you move a hostage without anyone noticing? They weigh their options. A wardrobe trunk? Too small. A broom closet? 6 weeks delivery time. Roll him up in a carpet? That could work. Allenberg heads out to get one, 2 by 3 meters. Kron stays in the car with Albrecht. They agree to meet at a quiet road where they can safely transfer Albrecht into a Volkswagen van. The plan is to make him sit on the rolled-out rug and wrap him up like a burrito. It all starts with this: butter. Post-war Germany is a country in ruins. Food is scarce. Butter is a luxury. So the
Revival Fitness mentioned Frank in his latest Looks Max video. It's dog shit video, obviously. I think I might have seen that one. Revival Fitness's content has become absolute horseshit and nonsense. He's gone insane with that whole carnivore diet thing. And he's constantly lying, even though he claims like he's criticized everybody for fucking lying. He's one of the biggest fucking liars. That dude's a dumb dork. Just a fucking idiot.
Albrecht brothers do something unusual. They sell their butter.
You know what? I think I commented on one of his videos. Yeah, I think it might have been that one. I think my comment might have gotten scrubbed. Yeah, weird. Huh.
Butter at cost, without markups and profits, sometimes even at loss. But word spreads quickly. There's no cheaper butter in town than at the Albrecht shop. Butter becomes their draw, or what's often called a loss leader. Other Albrecht loss leaders are bread, margarine, milk, flour, potatoes, pasta, soap, and toilet paper. They're everyday essentials at unbeatable prices, and once customers come in for those, they are likely to also spend money on other products. The plan works out. Before long, the Albrechts open one grocery store after another. Within just a few years, they're running 30 supermarkets across the greater area. While scaling, Aldi keeps it old school. A lot of paper, a lot of folders, tightly managed apartments. If only they could have run on Odoo, the all-in-one management platform.
Rampage donated $2. Let me see.
Take it back. Take it back. Hey, no, take it back.
Touch it.
Yeah. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. We know that.
What?
Hey, do me a favor, motherfucker.
Wait,
Hey, shut the fuck up. Hey, don't talk to me. Hey, don't talk to me like that, motherfucker. Listen, you the wrong motherfuckers. Don't do that shit. Get the fuck out of here before you piss me the fuck off. Yeah, get the fuck out of here. I don't give a fuck. You fuck with the wrong motherfucker, man. I'm not in a good mood, nigga. No, take it back.
He's still a dumb fucking asshole. Especially after what happened to his son. I lost all respect for Rampage. He was like, when he did that, what was it? You know, the UFC reality TV show, Ultimate Fighter. He was just an obnoxious, annoying fucking bully. And then after that, like, I didn't really like the guy too much, but then, yeah, after that whole thing that happened with his son, Raja, like, he's just a fucking jackass. My mom asked me if I was a lesbian, and I was like, no way, I love big fat cocks in my mouth, and she still got upset. Yeah, that's moms for you. Thanks for the donation, Rampage.
Instead of isolated software,
What the Mangus donated $2. Oh my god. It's a flying Mangus. Oh my god, flying Mangus. Oh my god. I don't know how Australians have jobs. Maybe they don't, and they're all just, like, retarded. But, dude, if I knew I could just sit outside and, like, chill with parrots and give them French fries, like, that's all I'd be doing all day. Just hanging out with fucking parrots.
Please watch and react.
I will take a look at that in just a moment. Thanks for the donation, Jews love Richard. Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Oh my god. Oh. I love parrots. Oh, Jabun Bun. Wow. You know what's really weird? There's a neighbor of mine, like, down the street. I think he has a free roam outdoor pet rabbit. Because I see this rabbit in front of his house periodically. Like, maybe once or twice a week. And there's also a cat that hangs out with the rabbit. And I'm guessing that's also his cat. So he has a rabbit and a cat that he just lets outside. And the cat and the rabbit, like, chilling on the front lawn and just watching people go by. It's really weird. The hell? Oh my god. Oh. That sheep has big rabbit ears. Oh my goodness. So pretty. Oh, so nice. Oh, they're nice. That's a good Mangus. Oh. Wow, he's so person. I love groundhogs. Groundhogs are so cool. Oh my god.
Wombat gets attacked by a predator, its first instinct is to dash back to its burrow. But instead of hiding, it does something unexpected. It blocks the entrance with its butt. That's because a wombat's rear isn't just muscle, it's reinforced with a thick plate of cartilage, making their butts incredibly tough and able to handle a lot of pressure. It's
You know, I wonder if I'm part wombat, because sometimes it's hard for me to get the needle into my butt. For some reason, whenever I inject into my butt, sometimes, like, I really have to poke the needle in with, like, more force. So, I might be part wombat.
basically built-in armor. If a predator tries to stick its head in, the wombat will slam its butt down, crushing the predator's skull against the roof of the burrow, and even wiggle to suffocate it. Some people didn't believe this and tried testing it themselves, and almost got stuck.
Wow, that's funny. That's a weird defense mechanism. Thanks for the donation with the Mangus. Jews love Richard. Please watch and react.
From going viral overnight.
Pretty sure we already watched this. Yeah, this is 3 months old. I'm pretty sure we've already seen this. Also, Internet Anarchist is one of the dumbest, most incompetent fucktards I've ever seen. So, yeah, after learning that this guy is, like, retarded, I don't trust anything he uploads, because the guy gets so many things wrong. But yeah, we've already watched this. This is like 3 months old. Thanks for the donation, dude.
Softwares, tons of individual applications, and lost files, Udo lets you manage all aspects of business hide their kidnapped millionaire in broad daylight in downtown Dusseldorf.
Did Frank post on his YouTube channel about the thing?
I just had my 7th eye surgery under anesthesia here in Japan.
Yeah, we already watched that.
The first idea is Olenberg's lawyer's office, but it's located on a busy street right in the city center, just off the central station. Getting Albrecht out of the car and into the building would mean walking him across the sidewalk, blindfolded, so he doesn't see where he's taking him by whom. He could shout, people could notice and get suspicious. The second idea is Olenberg's grown-up daughter. She lives only a few blocks away. They could hide him there and have her move into the lawyer's office for a while. But that's probably a tough sell. Her father has never visited her apartment, not even once, and now he would just show up with a kidnapped millionaire. So, back to the first idea. Unfortunately, Albrecht doesn't fit in the rug. What now? The hostage himself ends up pitching in. He promises to cooperate and not cause trouble. Olenberg and Kron agree. They take off the blindfold, tape his eyes with skin patches, and give him a pair of shades. Then they walk him across the sidewalk to the building. But there's another problem. The office is packed with staff and clients who've already been waiting a while. So Olenberg shuffles everyone into back rooms so that Kron can sneak Albrecht through the hallway and into Olenberg's private room. He usually reserves it for secret dates with his younger girlfriends. The room is a cramped 4-square-meter alcove. They sit Albrecht down on the bed. Then Olenberg goes into full gear to clear the office, rushing through client meetings and sending his staff home early. They don't mind. Hanna is worried, as usual. Not because she thinks her boyfriend is a kidnapper, but because she knows he's a womanizer, constantly chasing younger women. But tonight he comes home from work on time. There's nothing special on the evening news, no mentions of a missing tycoon. Mrs. Albrecht seems to have gotten the message. No police and no press.
Das ist Rentner Hugo Banzimmer. Wir fragten ihn in seiner Wohnung, warum kaufen Sie bei Albrecht?
Wissen Sie, wenn man Rentner ist, muss man mit dem Pfennig rechnen. Und ich kaufe bei Albrecht ein. Ich kaufe dort immer ein. Man bekommt mehr für sein Geld und ich kann mir hin und wieder eine Pulle extra leisten.
Kaufen Sie bei Albrecht. Zu Ihrem Vorteil.
Wow.
Karl Albrecht steps onto a small stage. He's about to give a rare public speech.
Commercial.
He talks to fellow grocers about how he and his brother grew their business from 1 to 30 stores within just a few years. It'll be the first and last time he publicly explains the Albrecht
Have you ever farted? Oh boy, have I ever.
business model.
Looking back on our operations, I see that in the early days, we were forced to keep a small product range. The sales strategy includes only fast-moving consumer goods. The limited product range eliminates time-consuming consultations for our staff, and customers can decide much faster to either buy or not buy. For example, we don't carry loose jams, fresh fruits and vegetables because they slow down sales. We also skip canned fruits and vegetables and specialty items like mayonnaise, pickled herring, herring salad and so on because of turnover speed. We carry only one variety of each product. For legumes, we have just one type each, so only one kind of beans, one kind of lentils and one kind of rice. For shoe polish, we only carry Erdal, for toothpaste only Blendux and only Sigella for floor wicks and cans. So for brand products, we only ever carry the best-selling brand. We have followed this principle of small product ranges at low prices since 1950. The customer must believe they cannot buy cheaper anywhere else. Once that belief is in place, and I think we achieved just that, customers will accept about anything.
Theo Albrecht spends most of his confinement sitting on the bed in his undershirt and briefs. He gets bread rolls for breakfast, steak with potatoes and beans for lunch, and coffee and pastries at tea time. The kidnappers offer him a warm meal for dinner, but he just wants sandwiches and mineral water. Every 2 days, he gets a hot bath and fresh underwear. He's allowed to shave with one of the kidnappers' razors. They took his suit and shirt to a dry cleaner, so it'll look decent on the day of his release. His captors dictate letters for him to write to his wife.
Dear Silly, you have heard from me by now. I want to assure you again that I'm doing fine and that I'm being treated fairly. Please don't worry, everything will be okay. I beg you not to call the police at any circumstance and to not involve the press. I'll explain the terms of my release later. Much love, your Theo.
4 days in, and the kidnappers still haven't addressed the ransom. Ullenberg keeps dodging the topic, saying it makes him uncomfortable. And just like that, another day goes by in captivity. Albrecht will later testify in court that during those days, he lived in constant fear for his life. Day 5, Saturday. Albrecht decides to take matters into his own hands. He proposes a ransom. By this time, Aldi is estimated to be generating 2 billion Deutsche Marks in yearly revenue. But the price tag he puts on his own life is considerably smaller, 100,000 Deutsche Marks. It's a ridiculous offer, a joke. Then again, it's very on brand. Theo Albrecht is famously stingy. Daily business at the Albrecht stores is governed by a set of strict principles. 1. No heating. Employees are expected to dress warmly. 2. Lights off unless absolutely necessary. Theo Albrecht personally ensures compliance during frequent surprise rounds. 3. Zero waste. Every sheet of paper is used front and back. Plastic sleeves get reused. Paper clips and envelopes are meticulously saved. 4. No frills. No decoration, no pretty product displays, no fancy signage. Just fluorescent lighting and cardboard boxes stacked on plain shelves. 5. Speed, or what some may call German. No chit-chat, no customer consultation, no service counters. Just rapid checkouts. Time is money. Even the bathrooms are optimized. Theo Albrecht has all electronic hand dryers replaced because they take 4 seconds too long to shut off. Refrigeration is too expensive as well. The butter that fueled Aldi's meteoric rise is sold at room temperature. At night, it's stored in a cool basement. All of this serves one goal and one goal only: rock-bottom prices, affordable for anyone.
Warum kann man bei Albrecht so preisgünstig einkaufen? Weil die Ladeneinrichtung nur einen Bruchteil des Üblichen kostet.
Dodo, Donatellers, are we reacting to the videos I sent you yesterday? Also react. Yeah, we will. New York City has 5 million registered voters, about 7 million adults. Mamdani got 1 million votes, 14% of New York City. That's it. Total voter. Our turnout was like 40%-ish. It's a whole lot of apathy. Yep. A lot of dumb motherfuckers, dude. That looks kind of cool. That does look kind of cool. Yeah, Vietnam doesn't have the same kind of regulations for things that are in the States. It's much easier to start up your own business. Oh my God.
When you say you believe that Charlie Kirk was betrayed by someone close to him. What do you mean?
I think that in the coming weeks, there's going to be a lot of financial reports that are coming out, and I, first and foremost, do not believe that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. I want to be very clear on that. Whether he was involved, I think the answer is yes. I think that's obvious.
And your basis for saying he didn't act alone is what?
I don't know, maybe the weird Fed messages that were concocted out of thin air that had no timestamp and were written like they were speaking in 1822, among other things. Their lack of an ability to answer any basic questions about what took place.
But do you have any proof that the messages were made up? Because that would be easily proven.
Yeah, but they didn't put timestamps on them, and Discord came out and said they didn't exist.
This was supposedly text messages, not Discord messages. It's my understanding from the indictment.
I actually did not read that they were text messages.
The indictment calls them text messages.
What would it be like the feds are like on a computer?
So she never read the indictment.
They're like typing it out back and forth?
That's exactly what it is. The feds made up the text messages.
But you don't have anyone from like the FBI telling you that, or law enforcement? I have leaks. Okay.
No.
Has anyone leaked to you?
And Tyler Robinson has...
But has anyone said to you, even off the record, like, yeah, we faked these?
I have very strong sources everywhere on both sides.
Well, I look forward.
Oh, your imaginary friend told you. Okay.
Great to see the evidence of that.
Sure. Because when we keep talking about evidence, it's like, who's going to present that evidence? Like the mainstream media? Like who are you expecting to come out?
Yes, that would be a hot story.
No, it wouldn't be.
It would be.
It wouldn't be.
If the FBI, like if I had a source telling me, like if I had proof that the FBI faked those messages, that would be an enormous story.
Yeah, I kind of feel like we live in a post-Epstein world, and we know how stories get shut down. And
she is out of this world fucking retarded. Like, what an actual dumb bitch. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
How ABT this Minty won.
Go to officialhorsetwins.com and pick you out a patriotic t-shirt today. Hell, I'm calling. Tired of the C-mail. Late night drive with another guy. Sounds. If you're homosexual, I'm sorry. Known of picked her up for a late night drive. If nothing happened.
Yeah, no thanks. Thanks for the donation, dude. Including the one about Vietnam. It's new info to you because, yes, you may know that Vietnam is building islands in South China Sea, but it explains why China is turning a blind eye. Here you go.
Satellite image.
Okay, I already have that one saved in my tabs. Mamdani already announcing he'll begin confiscating New York business owners' property and having the government take ownership. That doesn't sound
Starting
good.
on day one, we will expand the city's special enforcement programs, doubling fines for hazardous violations and tripling them for conditions that are immediately dangerous. And when a really bad landlord, like this guy, refuses to fix it, the city's going to step in, make the repairs, and send them the bill.
Watch next.
If that doesn't work, the city's taking over the building. We're putting the worst landlords out of business.
He says...
That's actually insane. No one's going to want to own property or develop any property. Like, it just becomes a massive fucking liability.
We're gonna take over the building.
So it's theirs. It's the city's.
I don't even understand. Like, there's no chance. That's not even legal. So we own your property now because we don't like how you manage your property?
So you mean like seize the means of production,
That's
like communists?
Okay, that's... There's no chance that's actually happening. Well, thanks for the donation, Dodo.
Kein überflüssiger Luxus, aber zweckmäßig und sauber für moderne Menschen. Albrecht-Preise sind nicht durch hohe Einrichtungskosten belastet. Überzeugen Sie sich. Kaufen Sie im Aldi-Markt.
The Albrecht grocery business eventually turns into Aldi, the discount giant that's also behind Trader Joe's. And Aldi becomes a force of nature. a retail machine that leverages its market power to squeeze suppliers and farmers for ever lower prices. The Albrecht brothers earn a reputation as brutally efficient negotiators. But right now, Theo Albrecht is not the one negotiating from.
Oh. Hey, dear Gum Gum. Oh. Hey. Is that my nice kitty? Hmm? Is that my handsome boy? Got such a big, nice cat head. How's my sweet little cat head? Yeah, that's a good baby. Congratulations, you're banned. Dodo, donate $2. Let me see. Innocent man attacked after a woman accused a man of trying to steal her bag, then claimed she was confused after police found his belongings and ID inside.
Jay, I'm shutting their home! It's my shit! Let her go! For what? Let her fucking go! Go ahead, motherfucker! Let's go! I swear to God, I will walk her. This is my home! Is that your shit? Yes, it is! No, yes, it is! I will shoot! Let her go! Let her go! Let her go! Let her go!
So, some dipshit sided with some crazy bitch for no reason? Imam Dani flew to Puerto Rico, attending a mosque where the imam called October 7th a silver lining. Yeah. I don't know what that stupid post is. What the hell is our government doing? I don't know. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
From a position of power. The guys across the table have a gun, and they're threatening to kill him. They flat out reject his initial offer. Ollenburg knows exactly how rich Albrecht is. He read about it in a book. That's how they picked him up in the first place. Ollenburg tells Albrecht they need to consult with their partners. First, Kron heads into the next room for a call, then Ollenburg. The calls are fake. There's no one on the other end. They're bluffing to push the ransom. Ollenburg tells Albrecht he and his partners have agreed on a number. He says there are 7 people involved and that $1 million each would be fair. That makes $7 million. At this point, it's the largest sum ever demanded in a kidnapping.
Yum gum dim sum 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 yum gum dim sum.
All right, well, that's nice. Thanks for the donation, non-wib. Could have any superpower, what would it be? Probably like Wolverine's power. That'd be cool. Juggernaut would be cool too. Being able to turn invisible and phase through objects would be neat.
Kidnapping in Europe. Ollenburg tells Albrecht not to worry. He can probably tax deduct the money as a business expense. Albrecht agrees. It's not like he really has a choice. By now, the kidnappers have worked out a plan for the ransom drop. On Tuesday at exactly 4 p.m., they'll call the Albrecht residence. Waiting on the other end will be the 4 people involved in the handover. Albrecht's wife, Silly, the family.
How do you get a sharper jawline? By you I mean, literally you. You have a soft
lawyer, the company's managing director, and one of his sons. They'll be given a first location, Meisenberg Street in Essen. There will be 2 stones with a note hidden underneath. The note will lead them to another location, where they'll find another note with another direction. The same thing will happen 2 more times. The final note will read,
Continue along the B288 toward Essen. Pull over at the parking lot near the Ruhrtal Bridge and use the deposited radio transmitter. Press the right button to say, Theo, come in please. Then follow the instructions you'll receive over the radio.
Kron will guide them via walkie-talkie to a path in the woods. There they're supposed to drop the money and leave. When the coast is clear, Kron will grab the ransom, and Albrecht will be released at Frankfurt Airport. They'll tell him they're leaving the country. Albrecht is told to board a plane back to Dusseldorf. Once he lands, he's a free man, and the kidnappers will have supposedly fled somewhere far away. It's a solid plan. Even Albrecht feels a bit relieved. Essen Police Headquarters. These are the 4 people awaiting the instructions for the ransom drop. At least they're supposed to look the part. They're actually 4 undercover detectives. They've been disguised by theater makeup artists. One of them is dressed as Mrs. Albrecht and wearing a wig. Underneath the costumes, they're hiding bulletproof vests and guns. They're standing by and waiting for the signal. Kron makes the call to the Albrecht residence. He says hello and is about to give the first set of instructions, and immediately gets cut off. Mrs. Albrecht was the one supposed to answer the call, but it's the family's lawyer on the line.
Please listen carefully. I have a brief but important statement to make.
Dodo, donate $2. Let me see.
React to this VG.
Oh, I see. Well, that's not very smart. Good for her, I guess.
Ghislaine Maxwell, in her own words, describing life in her new prison home. I feel like
If I could have a power, it would be to create matter from nothing. Also, I would use it to kill everyone who isn't vegan lol and destroyed the animal farms. Would be a cool power cause you can counteract entropy and use it to fly and shit.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I think just having like Superman's powers, I'd be pretty happy. Thanks for the donation on Wib.
In glass, she writes, a federal prison Camp Bryan, according to emails she sent to friends and family.
Okay, well, that's nice. This is the group that bankrolled Mom Donnie's campaign, Arrest Active IDF Soldiers. Jeez. Jeez. Literally all of it is like attacking Jews and Israel. Well, New Yorkers are dumb motherfuckers. Hopefully that city just burns to the fucking ground. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
Well, it looks like YouTube has quietly deleted more than 700 videos that document Israeli human rights violations.
Yeah, gee, I wonder why. Maybe it has something to do with these videos being bullshit, anti-Semitic, violating terms of service on the platform in various ways. Whatever, fucking cares. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
The conditions you have set are unacceptable. Money is the only viable exchange for the hostage. Since you demanded an unusually high amount of ransom money, we had to notify the state central bank. They in turn informed the police, and the press is also aware of the situation. We must act quickly now. Name a drop location and a reasonable amount. You will have our word. You will receive the money and be given enough time by the police to disappear.
Police and the press. That's the worst case scenario. Kron rejects and hangs up. The Albrecht family and the investigators are startled too. They've spooked the kidnappers and lost their trust. Theo Albrecht's life is still very much on the line. What now?
Non-Wib donated $2. Oh, wow. That's Gum Gum. He was sleeping there. Oh, that's amazing. I'm gonna save that. WebApp file? What the fuck is that shit even? Seriously? Well, that's a nice Gum Gum. Thanks for the donation on Web. Dodo donated $2.
Well, the Bolsheviks come to power and they relied on a really cheap but incredibly effective strategy of strategic communication. The Russians really understand other people's emotional life and what sets them at odds with each other, and they know just how to serve out the propaganda that sets people at each other's throats. And their propaganda is going to help the Chinese really despise the Japanese and the Europeans, while Russia's even greater predations go unnoticed. So here's Lev Karakhan. He was a deputy foreign minister. In 1919, he sends a missive, his Karakhan manifesto, to the Chinese foreign ministry, and he says, hey, we're not imperialists, we're Bolsheviks. We're going to return all the lands from those unequal treaties and be your friend from evermore. Unlike all the other evil imperialist powers, we're not like that anymore. And so the Chinese are looking at this and thinking, wow, here are the Bolsheviks who've gotten rid of their imperialistic government. They're putting together their shattered land. And so this offers hope to the Chinese that they can do likewise. And it's a model potentially to follow. Except here's the detail. When the Bolsheviks started doing better in their civil war, they really dialed back what their offer was. The original offer was tear up treaties, China gets all territory back, no payments necessary. Under the new version of the Karakhan Manifesto, which the Russian Foreign Ministry goes and telegraphs to the Chinese Foreign Ministry, I've seen the document, they send it back and say, we're willing to talk about these things, we're going to hold some negotiations. Well, the facts are they didn't return these concession areas to the mid-20th century, 1950s, after the Westerners had returned almost all of their concession areas. And this is not trivial. And when we think of concession areas in the age of imperialism in China, you think of British ones, right? Hong Kong. Well, Hong Kong isn't actually very big. The reason you know about Hong Kong is it makes lots of money, or at least it used to. And the Russian concession areas were huge, didn't make money, nothing, what else is new? But the Russians had by far the largest concession area of any other country.
Typical feminazi propaganda. Sure. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
The young turds are a perfect example of some effing woke that should honestly go broke.
True. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
Now. This is Franz Hengsbach. He's the Bishop of Essen, and this is the city's chief of police. He desperately needs someone neutral that everyone can trust. The police, the family, and most importantly, the kidnappers. Someone who can be handed 7 million Deutschmarks and promise the kidnappers not to set them up. The plan is to use the Christian seal of confession. According to German criminal law, clergy are not obligated to report crimes they learn about during spiritual counsel. This will hopefully give the kidnappers a bit more assurance. Maybe they really can walk away clean. Which is why Bishop Hengsbach shall handle the money handoff and save Theo Albrecht's life. Hengsbach is a man of faith. Of course he agrees.
For creatine and steroids.
I'm okay with that. Dude, see, that's why vegan diets are so unnatural, bro. You gotta supplement.
Yeah, that's what they do. Thanks for the donation, E-Nation.
The kidnappers also agreed to the plan. Technically, everything is set for a clean and smooth handover. Technically. The press has known about the case for a while now and agreed to keep quiet upon police request. But when they find out about the bishop becoming the middleman, they can't resist.
Dodo donated $2. Let me see. Mamdani moves mayor's office under Children's Hospital. That's a good one. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
Any longer. It's just too good of a story. The Essen police and prosecutors are forced to call a press conference. The room is packed.
Unser Verhältnis zur Familie ist, möchte ich sagen, aufgrund der merkwürdigen, teilweise sensationell aufgemachten Presseveröffentlichung etwas gestört. Die Familie ist naturgemäß sehr bedrückt.
Now it's not just the police anymore. The entire world knows what's happening. The bishop has been compromised. The kidnappers call off the meeting. It's too risky. The Albrecht family is desperate. They've lost all contact with the kidnappers. Will they harm Theo? Their last hope for communication is to include a message in a popular show on German national TV. Hannah is doing okay, but she's worried about her boyfriend. He hasn't been sleeping well and says work has been stressful lately. At least they can unwind in front of the TV.
Guten Abend, meine Damen und Herren. Vor 11 Tagen, am 29. November, haben bisher unbekannte Täter in der Nähe von Essen den Großkaufmann Theo Albrecht entführt. Sie verlangen ein Lösegeld von 7 Millionen Mark und einen Vorsprung von 24 Stunden. Da die Verbindung mit den Tätern in den letzten Stunden zusehends schlechter geworden ist, hat uns die Familie Albrecht gebeten, den Tätern, die diese Sendung heute Abend sicher sehen werden, folgende Nachricht zu übermitteln. Bitte bleiben Sie weiterhin mit dem Vermittler in Verbindung. Dieser wird niemanden über den Übergabeort und Zeit unterrichten. Nach Rückgabe des Entführten soll Theo Albrecht 24 Stunden bei dem Vermittler verbleiben. Dadurch sind Verfolgungsmaßnahmen für diese 24 Stunden ausgeschlossen. Bitte handeln Sie bald.
Business in Germany keeps booming, and Karl Albrecht sets his sights on expansion. In 1967, his branch of the business called Aldi Süd takes its first steps abroad, buying up Austrian supermarket chain Hofer with 30 shops. His brother Theo follows suit 6 years later, opening the first Aldi Nord store in the Dutch city of Rotterdam. Soon they expand to Belgium and France, conquering Europe one country at a time. But right now, Karl Albrecht has to take a very different kind of call. He's on the phone with one of the men who has kidnapped his brother, and the guy is furious. The ransom drop-off has to happen, now, clean and fast. They settle on a new time and place. The kidnappers agree to let Bishop Hengsbach deliver the money after all. Albrecht is to stay with him for 24 hours after the exchange. No police. Any interference could be fatal. Karl Albrecht agrees. Back at the office, Kron returns with the good news. The deal is back on. But Ollenburg has other concerns. He knows the police are recording their calls. He's been obsessing over security and telling his accomplice countless times to take precautions. So just to be sure, he asks Kron if he really changed his voice. Kron shrugs, awkwardly. Yeah, kind of. Day 17 of the abduction. Tonight's the night. The handover is finally supposed to happen. Theo Albrecht in exchange for 7 million Deutsche Marks. A lonely dirt road just off the highway. There's an overpass and 2 exit roads close by. Perfect escape conditions. The kidnappers arrive. Albrecht is wearing skin patches over his eyelids, sunglasses, and an old hat from Ollenburg. They had a glass of sparkling wine to mark the occasion. Ollenburg even gave Albrecht 2 parting gifts. The 3 step out and wait for over an hour. Is this a setup after all? Finally, a Volkswagen rolls up with Essen plates. The 2 men step out in clerical coats. One of them is unmistakably Bishop Hengsbach. The family fears a double cross. What if this is not the real Theo? What if the kidnappers pass off a decoy and run off with the money? So the bishop has to test him, with 3 questions dictated by Theo's wife. What kind of wood is Albrecht's new bedroom wardrobe made of? Albrecht hesitates. That damn wardrobe. What was the name of that wood again? He gives his answer, but the bishop shakes his head. Wrong. The second question is about an acquaintance they made during vacation. He gets that one right, and the third one too. All right, close enough. This has to be the real Theo Albrecht. The bishop and his driver get the money from the car.
Kid Budoni Teller's lack of economic, scientific, historical, logical literacy is one of the biggest existential crises we face as a nation.
Majority of people that voted for Zohran Mamdani here in New York City are living in Brooklyn. And to nobody's surprise at all, these people are mostly white liberals. The very people that have moved into Brooklyn and have voted for Zohran Mamdani are people that have benefited from capitalism. They're not intentional.
Boring. Thanks for the donation, dude.
Can we watch?
This is one of the first fully 3D compliant mechanisms. It can hold a single point fixed in space. But chickens have been doing this naturally with their heads all along. So I wanted to see how this mechanism works.
Yeah, chickens are pretty amazing.
And how do chickens pull this off as well? Can I find a situation where that ability actually fails? Oh no! Okay, you can stop. Oh my gosh. Rotational movement. This is crazy.
Yeah, chickens can't move their eyes inside their heads like people can, so they have to keep their head still in order to focus on objects, something like that.
The reason that birds have this ability is because in order to track prey, they need to fix their eyes on exactly where their next meal is going to be and know when to strike. But mammals need to do this as well. But instead of fixing their whole head on the prey, they just keep their eyes locked in on the target. Watch what a good hunter I am. See how I can keep my eyes on the camera even when my head's moving? Chickens can't do this because their eyes are basically locked in their head compared to mammals. So when their body moves, instead of moving their eyes to stay locked on a target, they have to keep their whole head locked on a target. Notice how the chicken's head becomes basically the center of rotation of the whole body when I turn it.
Yeah, chickens are cool. Kid Boo, donate $2.
Your sword has a most interesting shape. Nice, huh? You can't.
Yeah, great. Copyright. I love when you send me these shitty fucking anime clips with copyright music so that my stream ends up getting blocked. Thanks for the donation, Kid Boo.
It's almost like the head is pinned in place. In mechanical engineering, we would refer to the chicken's head as a remote center of rotation, RCR. It's possible to make a remote center of rotation without any biofeedback as well. For example, in a previous video, I showed you how to use a few rigid rods connected through pins to make a two-dimensional floating center of rotation. This could even be applied to a whole compliant mechanism like this elephant's trunk here. See how the whole body moves around the center of the trunk? But can this be done in 3 dimensions as well? Well, yes, actually. I recently discovered this research paper where engineers were able to design a 3D mechanism that holds one point fixed in place. And the coolest part is that it's all a compliant mechanism that can be 3D printed in one piece. I'm using my Creality K2 Pro printer to make this. I'll tell you more about it later in the video. So there are no moving parts in this, only bending. Look at the center of this pointer here. No matter what movement I do, it stays in the exact same spot. It feels like there's some imaginary anchor
really
holding
weird.
it in place. But I think the weirdest part about this, and you might have to print it yourself to actually see it, but I'll do my best to show it to you. The weirdest part is because the tip of the pointer always stays fixed no matter how you move it, this also means that if I push on the pointer, it can't move. So you'd expect this to be pretty flimsy hanging out here, but it's solid. It's completely restrained against any movement. Like I have it up against a wall or something. It seems like I should just be able to bend it like the other side, but this side isn't bendable at all. This device works because these triangle shapes all point so that they line up with the tip of the rod. So that means that in any direction, if that tip were to move, it would have to bend these triangles. More complex. But how do they do it? Well, there are 3 main ways that chickens know how to keep their heads still.
Nigga, I send the best content and you know it. Your Negro, semi-evolved ape gorilla monkey brain is just too dim-witted to conceptualize anything great. I wish my nigga Lord Freezer was a real figure so he'd round up useless monkeys like you.
Well, that's nice. Thanks for the donation, Kid Boo.
Also use these as well, but just not to the same extent as chickens. First, they rely on visual cues from around the room. If the motion-sensitive neurons in the brain detect motion coming from the optic nerve, then the chicken's muscles compensate for that motion by pushing back in the opposite direction, keeping the head still. In addition to this, they also use their vestibular system. It's a small semicircular canal filled with fluid that can detect angular acceleration, along with otolith.
Way she goes, boys.
Nova Scotia's Mike Smith, best known for his character Bubbles on the Trailer Park Boys, has been charged with sexual assault stemming from an incident in December of 2017 in Dartmouth. According to court documents, the 53-year-old was charged by Halifax Regional Police on October 2nd and is due to appear in court on Monday. The documents do not include details about the allegation, which has not been proven in court.
Yeah, that sounds like some bullshit to me, but guess we'll find out sooner or later. Pretty sure it's just some jealous ex making up fucking horse shit. Thanks for the donation, though, E-Nation.
Otolith organs, which are small crystals that tug on hairs when the head is moved due to the crystal's inertia. Finally, they use proprioception, which are nerves throughout the whole body that tell where each part of the body is in relation to the other parts. But which of these three systems is used for what? Well, first I'm going to test how much the ocular system has to do with the head stabilization. So let's turn out all the lights and see if Bella can stabilize her head in the dark. Okay, this is really interesting. In the dark, the chicken couldn't stabilize any translational movement. But when I tried rotational movement, she had no problem. She kept her head perfectly still. So in the dark, even though the chicken still had its otolith organs working fine, without visual cues it couldn't stabilize translational movement. So otolith input alone is ambiguous. It can't cleanly separate tilt versus linear movement, whereas rotation isn't ambiguous even in the dark. So in the dark, she was able to keep her rotational stabilization, but let's see what happens if we try to confuse that system. So I'm going to be holding the chicken in the back of a van while my brother drives around in tight circles to give a lot of angular acceleration. Okay, Bella. Oh no! Okay, so let's do just a rotational test right now. So she can do. Still has no problem doing the rotation. Is it
chicken?
To side. Definitely can't do side to side. Up and down, nope.
This is such a weird video.
But yeah, this one, the rotational one, she's locked in even when we're spinning around like crazy. This is interesting.
Like how they're doing a experiment where they're tilting chickens to see if their head will still stay stable.
In the dark, we were able to reduce their ability to stabilize translational movement. That's understandable because she had no visual cues. But in the van, even with visual cues, with the inside of the van, she couldn't do translational stabilization. In the van, the little crystals in the air could have gotten pinned in one direction due to the acceleration, so they can't tell translational movement very well, even though the eyes are telling it that it's moving. As for the rotational stabilization, this seems much more stable. Nothing really messed it up. That's because this system relies on the vestibular system of semicircular canals filled with liquid. Even though the van was spinning, it just cared about any change to the acceleration, not background acceleration. This actually lines up with a paper I found where they tested this on pigeons. They found the same thing that I just found. In the dark, the pigeons couldn't stabilize translational movements, but they could always stabilize rotational movements whether it was dark or not. This is so cool how chickens automatically do this type of correction. I love the mechanical stabilizer that I 3D printed as well. I'll leave a link to the STL file for this in the description. Let me show you how I printed it. This is the Creality K2 Pro. It's perfect for doing prints like this and really any thanks to its pre-assembled and an AI camera.
Well, chickens are neat.
7 million Deutsche Marks in cash, wrapped like Christmas presents. Olenberg and Kron wish them Merry Christmas.
Remember that Epoch side of Samari Jack where Jack was turned into a chicken?
I do, in fact.
done to me. Always!
Pant leg! I'll show you!
Yes, I remember that. That was a good episode. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
Hand over the Aldi founder and vanish. No one follows them. They did it. They're now multi-millionaires. And Germany's most wanted criminals.
In welcher Verfassung sind Sie vorgestern entlassen worden?
Also ich bin gesund. Ich bin natürlich sehr, sehr müde. Es hat mich ziemlich strapaziert.
Hatten Sie während der Zeit der Gefangenschaft daran geglaubt, dass dieser Fall gut ausgeht?
Also ich habe die Hoffnung nicht untergehen lassen.
Haben Sie mit den Entführern Gespräche führen können über menschliche Dinge oder nur über die Tat?
Ich habe praktisch kaum mit den Entführern gesprochen.
Theo Albrecht is a free man. 17 days after his abduction, he's finally back. He just keeps doing what he does best, expand his empire. In 1979, he sets his sights on the US market and buys Trader Joe's. Then he enforces the same principles that made Aldi so successful.
Renegade Donatillers, hey Richard, read comments. Okay, there's not really anything being said in the comments. So they like her burping. Thanks for the donation, dude.
A limited product range, strong private labels, and aggressive pricing. The formula works. Trader Joe's grows from a quirky Californian chain into a nationwide cold supermarket with hundreds of locations and billions in revenue. His brother had already opened the first US Aldi store 3 years earlier. Theo operates under the banner of his branch, Aldi Nord, and Carl under Aldi Süd. They're technically competitors, but with different customer bases. Today, Aldi is the fastest growing grocery retailer in the US, and the main reason people shop there is the same as ever. Unbeatable prices.
Aldi doesn't play pricing games on USDA choice beef. They have low prices every day.
Hannah is waiting for her boyfriend. She's packed his suitcase. He said he was going on vacation, without her. And now he's late. Maybe he's seeing someone else. When he finally gets home, his shoes are soaking and his pants are covered in mud. How would you get your pants that dirty at a downtown office?
We need to bring this shit back to America. When people ask when was America great? This is exactly what I'm referring to. Ever since we gave niggers rights, shit went down fucking hill.
I don't think I'm gonna play this on stream.
Justice, thou shalt answer for this sin. Sin. There is no sin.
Yeah, I'm not gonna play that on stream. Thanks for the donation, Kid Boo. Renegade Donatillers, dude, you didn't read the comment. It said I didn't last much time. Can you open the thread and read what the reply said? No. Thanks for the donation, dude.
But Allenberg can't exactly tell her that he just pulled off a spectacular kidnapping, and that his pants are dirty because he just buried 1.5 million Deutsche Marks in the woods. So he just says nothing. His thoughts are already elsewhere anyway, with his other girlfriend, his one true love, the woman he plans to run away with, all the way to the other side of the world, where they'll use that money to start a new life. But Hannah will soon find out what those dirty pants were really about. Paul Kron is at his sister's house. Her husband is there too. They're having coffee and cake, and the TV is on, with sound.
See, this is why you don't want a girlfriend, a wife, or anything. It's always women who fucking ruin the crimes you commit. Like, women cannot keep their mouths shut, they're fucking nosy, they always need to be in your fucking business, they blab about everything. If If you want to rob a bank, kidnap somebody, hold them for ransom, any like fucking criminal shit, women are gonna fucking ruin it for you.
Einmal, meine Damen und Herren, um ein Gespräch zwischen einem Familienmitglied und einem der Entführer. Bitte hören Sie einmal zu.
So it's true. The police really did record the phone call between Kron and Karl Albrecht. Now the city's district attorney is playing it to the German press. He's hoping to get help from the public, that someone out there will recognize the kidnapper's voice.
Jeez, these kidnappers are fucking stupid. Renegade donators, why are you in such a bad mood today? I don't know why you think I'm in a bad mood. Can I come over and cheer you up? No, thanks for the donation, Renegade.
Ja, nein, hören Sie zu.
Und dann,
Herr Dr. Meyer. Herr Dr. Meyer.
Ja.
Merken Sie denn nicht, dass wir den Bruder haben wollen und bereit sind, das Geld zu geben?
Wissen Sie, Ihr Bruder verliert langsam die Nerven.
Ich verstehe das.
Er möchte gerne nach Hause.
Ich verstehe
Er
das.
kann nichts anderes tun als schreiben.
Kron's sister instantly recognizes her brother's voice. No doubt about it. He's the Aldi kidnapper the entire country is looking for. That's a tough thing to explain over coffee and cake. Kron doesn't even try. He just gets up and leaves. Hanna recognizes the voice too. Ollenburg has invited Kron over for dinner many times. She knows exactly who that is. A small electronics store in Dusseldorf. The shopkeeper turns on the TV just to catch a segment of a show called Here and Today. They're also playing the recording of the Aldi's kidnapper's voice, and it sounds very familiar. Just the day before, a man with that exact voice had come in to pay off his installment plan. He even bought a stereo system for 3,400 Deutsche Marks on top. The shopkeeper calls the police. Before the handoff, investigators had written down the serial numbers of all 500 Deutsche Mark bills in the ransom bundle. 3 of those bills were used in the electronics store. It's a match. Paul Kron is arrested 2 days later, but the second kidnapper is still a mystery, and still at large.
Dude, these fucking kidnappers are stupid.
Peter Spohr is a young police trainee working toward his detective badge. Right now, he's doing an internship with the Essen Criminal Police. This is his mentor, Chief Inspector Friedhelm Meise. They're sitting in a lawyer's office on the 4th floor of the Graf Adolf Street 45. It's run by the lawyer representing Paul Kron. It's not exactly a hot lead for the 2 policemen. The more exciting assignments had already been snatched up by others. There's a pub downstairs on the ground floor of the building. Good cops think strategically. So first a beer, and then a plan. Theo Albrecht never knew where exactly he had been held, but he told the police every detail he could remember. An elevator in the stairwell, a narrow bathroom with a double sink and a broken extractor fan, the sound of streetcars passing by, and a bell chiming at regular intervals. The policemen see a streetcar passing by outside the lawyer's office. Then they hear the church bell of a nearby convent, just like in Albrecht's description. They peek into the building stairwell. Bingo, an elevator. So they check out the construction plan from the city's building department. The bathroom is long and narrow. They get a warrant to search the office. Everything inside exactly matches Albrecht's memories. Meanwhile, Kron starts to crack.
Paul Kron hat gesungen. Bezichtigt Heinz-Joachim Ollenburg als Haupttäter der Entführung, der ihn mit 10.000 Mark abgespeist hat. Doch der Vogel ist ausgeflogen.
This is Blondie, a 19-year-old legal assistant. She's waiting for her boyfriend at Wuppertal Central Station. She hasn't seen him in weeks, but he promised her something big, a luxury vacation in Mexico to celebrate that she successfully passed her training, 2 full weeks. Heinz-Joachim Ollenburg is on the run. He knows the cops have already picked up Kron. It's only a matter of time before they find out that he's the second Aldi kidnapper. Ollenburg and Blondie have known each other for over a year. When she spent a few months working from the US, he started killing time with Hanna, but his heart always belonged to Blondie. They're madly in love with each other. Now they're on their way to Frankfurt Airport. Back in Essen, Hanna has no idea. She's alone at home when suddenly the police is at her door. They're looking for Ollenburg. They seize this photo. It will become the official manhunt photo. Once they realize Ollenburg has left the country, the case goes global. The picture is sent to Interpol and investigators in over 100 countries. Ollenburg is now one of the most wanted men on the planet. And Hanna finally learns the truth, that her
Renegade Donators, you just seem kind of mopey today anyway. Saw you at the Independent in Brockville the other day. Way too shy to say hi. Well, that's nice. I guess say hi next time. I'm just tired. I'm not mopey. Very, very tired today. I've literally not been able to do fucking anything, and I just slept. I've needed a ridiculous amount of sleep the last 2 days. I think it's because I'm growing so quickly from the steroids, and I'm just like in a sleep and grow state, sort of like a baby. But thanks for the donation, Renegade. I have a cat here. This is a cat. You see this? This is a sleepy cat. He's very person.
Charming lover owes her over 300,000 marks, that he kidnapped the founder of Aldi, locked him up in his office, and then came home to her every night as if nothing happened. All while secretly planning his escape, with a girl from Wuppertal he's been sleeping with all this time. Shortly after, Hannah walks into a police station and hands them her boyfriend's dirty pants. Maybe there's something on them that will help them bring him down.
Yeah.
A luxury hotel in Mexico City. Ollenburg and Blondie have spent a quiet first night together. Now he's supposed to plan their next days. But deep down, he's thinking about something else. He could tell Blondie everything, the whole story. They could run, first to Cuba, a country that surely doesn't extradite to Germany, and then disappear to some remote Pacific island. But would Blondie really leave everything behind for him? Her whole life? Her family? It's 12 a.m. now, and Blondie is waiting for her boyfriend in the hotel lobby. She's coming off a travel group meeting. He said he'd freshen up for lunch and meet her downstairs, but he doesn't show up. Turns out her boyfriend has just been arrested by agents of the Mexican Federal Police. Paul Cron has thrown him under the bus. Blondie is stunned, unable to process what's happening. But all signs point to a shocking truth. Her boyfriend is the mastermind behind the spectacular kidnapping of Theo Albrecht, the crime that's been dominating headlines in Germany for weeks. So much for a vacation. They're on the flight back to Europe when she confesses her love. She'll wait for him even if he ends up going to jail.
Erst am 1. Januar 1972 kehrt aus Mexiko abgeschoben, mehr oder weniger freiwillig zurück, mit seiner Begleiterin aus Wuppertal. Ollenburg hat heute Mittag ein Geständnis abgelegt. Was fehlt, sind die 7 Millionen Mark Lösegeld.
Heinz Joachim Ollenburg is sentenced to 8.5 years in prison. Aldi stands for a promise. We'll do everything we can to make sure you pay as little as possible. For millions of people living from paycheck to paycheck around the globe, that promise is a lifeline. At Aldi, they're able to afford things they otherwise couldn't. But that promise comes at a cost. Workers operate under enormous pressure because in Aldi stores, every second counts. According to one report, cashiers are expected to scan 55 items per minute. Customers can barely keep up with bagging. Low prices means high pressure, not just for staff, but also for manufacturers, suppliers, and farmers. If you want to work with Aldi, you have to deliver. Aldi and other discounters wield staggering market power. They can just raise food prices without passing profits down the supply chain to producers and farmers. Farming businesses in particular have long been criticizing unfair business practices. Many say they're at the mercy of the retailer's whims. Theo Albrecht's brilliant and often brutal methods made him one of the richest people on earth. He ranked 31st on the corresponding Forbes list by the time he died.
Jeez.
The kidnapping left a mark, though. Albrecht pretty much disappeared from the public after that. He really did try to write off the ransom as a business expense. The tax office in Dusseldorf declined. Half of the ransom money has never been recovered.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. Holy shit, this guy is so fucking cheap.
Kron claimed he only ever got 10,000 marks. Ollenburg also played dumb, but some believe he lived off the rest of the ransom after having served his time. Whether Blondie really waited for him all those years, we may never know.
That's a fucking hilarious story. Alright, let's see this one.
Satellite imagery from August 2025 captures something unusual. Vietnamese dredgers carving new land from shallow coral reefs across the Spratly Islands. Since early 2025, Hanoi has expanded 8 previously untouched land formations and developed over 930 hectares of artificial land. That's roughly 70% of what Beijing built during its own island building spree from 2013 to 2017. At this pace, Vietnam will soon match China's total reclaimed area in the Spratly Islands. What makes this remarkable isn't just the scale, it's China's silence. Beijing, which has consistently confronted the Philippines over far smaller moves, has said almost nothing about Vietnam's construction binge. No Coast Guard harassment, no diplomatic escalation, no military posturing. The restraint reveals something more strategic in motion. At stake is control over one of the world's most contested waterways. The South China Sea carries $3.4 trillion in trade annually, or 21% of global maritime commerce. It's also home to an estimated 11 billion barrels of oil and 5.3 trillion cubic meters of natural gas. More importantly, whoever controls the natural or artificial geographic formations in the sea can establish navigation hubs and military outposts and use those to project power across the periphery. China has 7 artificial islands, which it transformed into fortified bases equipped with runways, ports, and missile batteries. However, that advantage is now collapsing. In recent years, Vietnam has upgraded 21 of its 29 controlled rocks and low-tide elevations into artificial islands. Vietnam's reclamation project is part of a calculated bet that hard power, rather than diplomacy, will determine who controls these waters. After all, nothing rallies Asia faster than shadows on its borders. Today's video is sponsored by Supremacy World War III, a free online strategy game where you... This is Vietnam's exclusive economic zone, but it also claims sovereignty over the Paracel and Spratly Islands. To secure both its holdings and its claims, Vietnam must be able to patrol these waters. However, it can't do that if Chinese ships only have to travel 10 kilometers, while the Vietnamese have to travel 500. The math just doesn't work, and so Vietnam must build artificial islands in places it claims. For years, Vietnamese outposts were little more than concrete structures. Then, in October 2021, Vietnam deployed cutter suction dredgers for the first time. These industrial machines can move sediment on a scale far beyond the small barges used in earlier projects. The difference is visible from space. The islands, reefs, and shoals of the Spratlys that once held only isolated structures now host ports, helipads, munitions depots, and sandbars stretching thousands of meters. Take Bark Canada Reef. This 29-kilometer atoll in the southern Spratlys now hosts 2.8 square kilometers of reclaimed land, making it the largest Vietnamese landmass in the island chain. Construction crews have laid the foundation for a 2,400-meter runway, which is long enough to accommodate large military transport aircraft, reconnaissance planes, and bombers. If completed, it would be Vietnam's second operational airstrip in the Spratlys, joining the existing 1,200-meter runway at Truong Sa Island. Meanwhile, the other sites have undergone transformations of their own. Pearson Reef has been expanded to nearly 1.3 square kilometers, with a 2,500-meter sandbar connecting its fortified outposts. Tennant Reef now measures around 0.7 square kilometers, with a 3,770-meter landmass suitable for a runway in the near future. Lad Reef, South Reef, and others follow the same pattern: dredge through lagoons, pile sediment into sandbars, and build infrastructure. By May 2025, all 21 Vietnamese-controlled land formations had undergone an artificial facelift. That is a stark change from 4 years earlier when 11 of them were little more than pillboxes on rocks. The infrastructure emerging on these reefs is unmistakably military. Most have at least one munitions depot surrounded by thick blast walls. Bark Canada has 3. Satellite imagery also shows each reef having identical clusters of buildings, arranged around central courtyards and facing out toward the sea. Their precise function remains unclear, but considering the layout, they could be either barracks, command posts, or administrative facilities. At the same time, helipads have appeared at Tennant Reef, Discovery Great Reef, Ladd Reef, and South Reef, and new berms have been constructed on multiple sites, likely intended for anti-ship artillery or missile platforms. However, full-length runways are notably absent from most reefs. The placement of structures and munitions depots prevents the construction of airstrips on sites such as Pearson, Tennant, Ladd, and South Reef, even though these are all long enough to accommodate one. This implies that Vietnam prioritizes naval and coast guard logistics more than air superiority. At least 8 reefs are now being expanded, each equipped with ports capable of servicing large vessels, including Vietnam's Gepard-class frigates. These new ports extend Hanoi's ability to sustain deployments far from the mainland. Ships can now resupply, refuel, and rotate crews without returning to the coast, thereby significantly extending patrol durations. This mirrors China's strategy: use artificial islands as forward operating bases to maintain a persistent presence in contested waters. The scale of this effort is unprecedented for Vietnam.
Long Tim Lurker here, and your East Frank joined a new video and pooped on me. And UXAD.
Jasmine, Jasmine.
According to the Asia Maritime Transparency Initiative, Vietnamese dredgers have created more than 930 hectares of land across 14 land formations since October 2021. At the current pace, Vietnam will match or surpass Beijing's reclamation within 2 years.
Cat stream. The stream is going to be all about cat. Cat, cat, cat. Is your good cat? I think he's tired. It's your good cat. So nice. How nice he is. It's a nice baby. It's his kitty chin. It's a good kitty chin. It's my little baby. Wow. So nice. My goodness. Oh. That's a good cat. Ah, he bit me.
China's response to Vietnamese expansionism has been tepid at best. In February 2025, Beijing issued a statement asserting sovereignty over the Spratlys and opposing construction on what they considered illegally occupied islands and reefs. But that was it. The Foreign Ministry repeated the same routine statement in August, saying that China would take necessary measures to safeguard its territorial sovereignty. Yet, those measures never came to pass. This restraint stands out. For years, China has forcefully confronted the Philippines over maritime disputes. In 2024 alone, Chinese Coast Guard vessels rammed Filipino ships, used water cannons to damage hulls, and deployed bladed weapons against sailors during boarding actions. At Scarborough Shoal in August 2025, a Chinese Navy destroyer collided with a Chinese Coast Guard ship while chasing a Filipino vessel, resulting in severe damage to both ships. Beijing has deployed hundreds of maritime militia boats to swarm Filipino-controlled islands and reefs, and even threatened Manila with military action if it continues reclamation work. In effect, the Philippines has drawn Beijing's wrath, despite controlling just 9 land formations in the Spratlys. So, why then does Beijing tolerate Vietnam's expansion while punishing the Philippines? 3 factors could explain the disparity. First, geopolitical bandwidth. China is fixated on the Philippines, which, under President Marcos, has strengthened ties with the United States. In recent years, Manila signed new defense agreements with Washington, opened 4 additional military bases to American forces, and conducted joint exercises with the United States, Japan, Australia, India, and South Korea. Moreover, in August 2025, Marcos welcomed Taiwan's foreign minister for trade talks, which didn't sit well with Beijing. And so, from China's perspective, opening a second front against Vietnam risks unifying ASEAN against Beijing, something the Chinese would rather avoid. The second reason for China's muted response is historical precedent. Vietnam has been expanding in the Spratlys since the 1970s. It's not something new or sudden. Between 1975 and 1996, it seized control of 21 land formations, even a few from China itself. In fact, a skirmish erupted in 1988 at the Johnson South Reef, with Chinese naval forces destroying 3 Vietnamese transport ships and killing 64 sailors. So, Vietnam's current expansion, while larger in scale, is not fundamentally new behavior in Beijing's view. The Philippines, by contrast, has only recently begun to push back against Chinese pressure, making its defiance seem more pressing. The third factor behind China's restraint is Vietnam's strategic ambiguity. It holds partner status in BRICS, a bloc often characterized as anti-Western, and President Quang underscored this alignment by attending Beijing's Victory Day ceremony in September. In addition, a New York Times investigation published on October 27th revealed that Vietnam had finalized an $8 billion arms deal with Russia. The agreement reportedly includes up to 40 Su-35 fighter jets, with oil payments used to bypass Western sanctions. Meanwhile, when the Trump administration imposed reciprocal tariffs on Vietnam earlier this year, Chinese President Xi visited Hanoi and signed dozens of economic agreements. For these reasons and others, Beijing believes that Hanoi can be managed through diplomacy and economic incentives. And frankly, that may prove to be the more practical approach. China is already Vietnam's largest trading partner, with bilateral trade reaching $205 billion in 2024. Chinese investment has also expanded sharply, with cumulative foreign direct investment surpassing $31 billion by early 2025, including $4.7 billion in new projects in 2024 alone. Taken together, these factors explain Beijing's restraint. A forceful confrontation with Vietnam could backfire, driving Hanoi closer to Washington and turning a manageable problem into a strategic disaster. For that reason, Beijing stays quiet. It's betting that Vietnamese expansionism, however extensive, will not challenge Chinese dominance so long as Hanoi keeps one foot in Beijing's orbit.
We need to nuke China. Just wipe them off the face of the earth. Actually, no, maybe we shouldn't. That's where I get my steroids from. Actually, just nuke the parts of China that don't make my steroids. Oh, China. What a weird relationship we have with them. So strange. Well, there goes the cat. He's so person. Did you guys know that the cat is very person? Things are weird. I like rice. Rice is nice. Rice is very nice.
For supporting PBS. Antimatter drives sound like science fiction, but they may not be as far as you think. There's a version that could, just maybe, launch within your lifetime. Hey everyone, before we get started, 2 quick announcements. We wanted to let you know that your help with likes and commenting is working. Thanks to that, the algorithm is sharing current episodes with more of our community, so please keep it up. And if you haven't yet, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss new episodes. Next, if you believe in humanity's propensity for interstellar travel, we've got the perfect shirt for you. It fuses the Alcubierre warp drive with the X-Files I Want to Believe poster, and thanks to UV printing, it glows after sun exposure, even in the depths of space. There's 10% off for the first 48 hours, link in the description. Now, onto the episode. Warp speed, hyperdrive, jump drives, space folding, subspace wormholes, infinite improbability drives. We're pretty good at coming up with ways to travel faster than light, at least in fiction. Sadly, Einstein's relativity theory tells us that it's almost certainly impossible in reality, at least for macroscopic objects over meaningful distances. Probably our future exploration of the galaxy will have to take the slow road. That said, we can certainly do a lot better than the current generation of chemical rockets, which are still burning stuff for energy, you know, like a steam train. In terms of energy per kilogram, the antimatter drive is near as efficient as you can get, within the bounds of the laws of physics, if you care about those. As such, it's also a staple of science fiction, and as such, antimatter drives also feel as far off as the warp engine. But there have been a lot of advances in recent years that warrant this update on the timeline of antimatter-powered space travel. And there are early versions that you might even see launch. Let's start with the requisite antimatter review. We've talked about antimatter before, about how in 1928 Paul Dirac discovered it in his equations as he tried to bring quantum mechanics into agreement with special relativity, and found negative energy electrons. And how in 1932 it was discovered in reality when Carl Anderson noticed cosmic ray electrons curving the wrong way in a magnetic field. They proved to be Dirac's anti-electrons, positrons. So what is antimatter really? It's pretty fair to describe it as the mirror image of regular matter, and every particle of matter has an antimatter counterpart. It's the Bizarro to Superman, the Wario to Mario, the Dirac to Feynman, the same but oh so different. Antimatter is inevitable in a universe with the symmetries of ours. If we think of particles as swirls and vibrations in the quantum fields, well, those fields can swirl and vibrate backwards. The laws of physics are almost completely symmetric if we say flip all quantum charges to be their opposites, or reflect to the mirror image, or if we reverse the flow of time. Antimatter is the charge flipped and parity inverted version of matter, which can equivalently be thought of as time reversed matter. The matter-antimatter symmetry means it's possible to produce particles of matter out of pure vacuum as long as you also produce the corresponding particles of antimatter to balance. And also as long as you have the energy to account for the new mass according to Einstein's equation E equals mc squared. This process is called pair production. But if the laws of physics are symmetric in time, this process also works backwards. A matter-antimatter pair can also be uncreated, annihilated, to produce energy. And again, E equals mc squared, so take the mass, multiply it by the speed of light, which is a big number, then multiply it by the speed of light again, and you get a very, very big number. And that's why antimatter is the ultimate energy-dense spaceship fuel. For example, annihilate an espresso with an anti-espresso, and you get an explosion with the power of a modern H-bomb. There are, of course, complications to using antimatter, or we'd be flying around with it and blowing each other up with it already. It's very difficult to make the stuff in quantity, and even more difficult to store. And it's also complicated to harness it in rocket propulsion. But before we can talk about how we are solving those, we need to dispel a misconception. There's a commonly repeated statement that matter and antimatter annihilation releases pure energy. There's not really any such thing as pure energy. Energy is a property possessed by systems. It can take many forms: mass energy, kinetic, potential, etc. The most charitable interpretation of pure energy is energy that's easily accessible and usable. Mass energy is the least pure or free in that sense, and that's the price of it being the most compact form of energy. And that mass energy isn't necessarily...
Can you react to this dumb anti-bullying cartoon VG that's giving lousy advice?
Certainly, Dodo. Let me take a look. This is already really gay.
Hi, I'm Maya.
And I'm Darius.
And we have to talk about something.
It's bullying.
When people think of bullying, they think of kids getting shoved into lockers or having their heads flushed in a toilet. But the truth is, bullying can be a lot more complicated than that.
Bullies use their power to hurt or control others. And they might make you feel unsafe in places where you should feel protected.
And that's not okay. Your school, sports teams, and after-school clubs have to be safe spaces for everyone. There was a time when I didn't feel welcome at school. Some girls that I thought were my friends had decided I wasn't cool enough for them. Everywhere I went, they either laughed at me, made fun of me, or ignored me altogether. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, there was a time when I didn't feel safe at school. I started to dread coming to football practice because one of my teammates would always take the drills too far. It didn't seem like anyone noticed. I mean, the coach was too busy focusing on the whole team to see me being bullied.
No one ever has the right to hurt you or make you feel unsafe.
The problem is, bullying is hard to stop. And that's because most people's first reaction to bullying is to ignore it. You may feel like it will go away, but the problem with ignoring it
is that it won't stop, and it might even get worse. Maybe you're embarrassed.
Well, yeah, if you ignore it, and don't do anything in response, bullies just learn that there's no consequences and they can treat you like a punching bag. That's why as soon as you deal with this shit, you have to fight back and hurt them. Ideally, you'd like do something extreme, like stab them in the eye with a pencil and blind them. Nobody's gonna fuck with you after that. But as long as you just fight back and they learn that there's some sort of consequence where they have to put an effort into fucking with you, they're gonna stop.
Embarrassed. Or you want to believe that it's not a big deal.
Or maybe you're afraid that telling will make it worse, or that whoever you need to tell won't understand or be able to help.
But trust us, because we've been there. If you're being bullied, there's only one way to deal with it.
Stop.
With physical violence. Stop, walk, tell. Oh my god, here we go.
Walk away and tell an adult.
Yes, tell an adult who won't believe you, who doesn't give a shit, isn't paid enough to deal with this crap. It's just fucking retarded. Teach kids to fight back. If you're physically inferior to somebody and they can beat you up, stab them in the eye with a pencil, bite them, find some dirty way to fight back where the person who's bullying you knows there is a genuine risk to their well-being because you're willing to take things to the extreme.
Stop taking the abuse.
Get yourself away from the situation.
And go talk to an adult you trust.
Who will not do anything about it, yes.
Tell them everything.
Parents, teachers, counselors, and coaches' first priority is your safety. Believe me, there are adults that want to help you.
Bullies might scare.
None of them do absolutely anything ever. Everyone around you is fucking useless, and the only person who's responsible for your safety and well-being is you. So, good luck with that, you dumb motherfucker.
Scare you out of telling. But if you tell an adult, the bullying is more likely to stop.
If you tell an adult, the bullying is more likely to get more severe because now the bullies know you're a weak little bitch who can't stand up for yourself and you're going to be a pussy and tell some fucking adult about it rather than standing up for yourself. So they know you're a fucking bitch, and they also know the adult isn't going to do fucking shit, and they're also probably manipulative fucking cunts who can convince the adult you talk to that nothing's going on.
The adults in our lives won't tolerate bullying, but we can't tolerate it either. We have to stand up for each other, and we all know some kids get it the worst.
Last year, a friend of ours started feeling unwelcome and unsafe at school. He was being bullied for weeks just for being different and having different interests than some of the other kids at school.
We didn't want to see our friend get hurt or feel like he didn't belong. So we helped do something about it.
Kids who are LGBTQ, or who are of color, or maybe have learning challenges or physical differences, might get bullied the most. We need to work together to decide how safe our school can be.
Our differences are our strengths. We also know that bullies need help too.
But we can't tolerate their behavior. Never ignore bullying. Never stay silent. You will help yourself and help your bully more by speaking up.
Stop, walk away.
You know, it's pretty fucking hilarious that they talk about, like, LGBTQ, racism and shit like that, and you need to tell an adult. You'll find that the adults you talk to are also homophobic and racist. So, like, as soon as you go to, like, let's say you're getting bullied because you're black or something. Okay, you go to a white teacher. What do you think's going to happen? They're not going to believe you. They're going to think you're the problem because, like, black kids always start shit and they're hoodlums and they're gang members. Like, it's so fucking hilarious. You think adults aren't fucking also prone to some sort of racial or gender or some other kind of fucking bias? Like everything, like, these things are fucking stupid. Only women and gay retards make up this bullshit. Because, like, you have to be a woman or a gay retard to believe any of this stupid fucking nonsense. Anybody who's ever had to deal with any kind of horseshit, like, knows immediately.
I honestly hate teachers more than bullies because they are like the police when our people going to learn techies are not your friends.
Well, yeah, they're fucking cunts. But, thanks for the donation, Dodo. Yeah, but only women and gay retards would come up with some sort of PSA like this because they have, like, dumb fucking retard brains. Anybody who's ever had to, like, deal with anything like this, like, knows this is just complete and utter horseshit. So it's just women and gay retards who've never dealt with bullying in their entire fucking lives who have this, like, weird idea that everyone is sensible, people can be reasoned with. What's the point of fighting anybody? Violence doesn't solve anything, even though it solved slavery, it solved fascism, it's defeated the Nazis. Violence has literally solved every fucking problem that humanity has ever faced. But yeah, like these dumb fucking retards who just live sheltered lives and never have to fucking deal with anything. Just come up with these stupid fucking ideas thinking that everything can be, like, rationalized or reasoned with. Like, no, there are people who speak certain languages. And people who are, you know, bullies, who act like fucking chimpanzees, who pick on people for fun, the only language they speak is physical violence. You need to escalate things to a point where they need to risk getting hurt for them to stop. So it's fucking retarded. If you're, like, in elementary school, or even high school, like, you know, below the age of 18, take advantage of it. You can't be tried as a legal adult. You're not going to have a permanent criminal record. If people are fucking with you like this, beat the fucking shit out of them. That's all there is to it. If you're not a legal adult, you do not have to face the same legal consequences. So it's different if you're dealing with something like in a workplace, but when you're like fucking 12 years old, beat the fucking living shit out of kids. There's no point in fucking dealing with any of this crap. It's stupid.
Necessarily all liberated in annihilation. That process will often produce other massive particles, so some energy remains locked away. The idea of this process of annihilation producing pure energy is probably from electron-positron annihilation. In that case, the ingoing particles have such low masses that the energy they produce typically isn't enough to produce other particles. Instead, they annihilate into photons and the rare neutrino. The entire energy content of those photons can be captured pretty efficiently. But to accelerate our spaceship, we really need momentum, not energy. Basically, we need to throw stuff out the back of the ship as fast as possible so that momentum conservation accelerates us forwards. Although our annihilation photons do have plenty of energy, they are massless and so carry relatively little momentum. Also, very high energy photons are hard to direct efficiently. Ideally, we want to harness whatever energy we produce to blast massive particles out behind us. It's certainly possible to do that with the energy.
Oh god, I just realized. This is horrifically boring. Oh jeez, this is just so boring. Yeah, we're not gonna do any of that. I'm gonna go grab another energy drink. I'm having trouble just in general. Oh, sweet. Androgenic made a response. That's going to be funny.
Today we're going to be reacting to...
Let's watch this. Revival Fitness is a fucking dumbass. Okay, I'll be right back.
Oh, jeez.
I can honestly name a whole load of teachers I wanted to punch in the face. Sadly I couldn't because they were mostly women, and if I did I would of course go to jail for a long time.
Nah, nobody cares if you punch women, especially these days. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
He spent over $100,000 to become Gay Chad. It's a video on me. Let's watch it.
Now, the guy we're about to look at here, he's got done a number of major procedures. And it's very obvious, but as we're going to see in the comments too, a lot of guys that follow him are totally oblivious. You can see in these
I've never had surgery, and I suppose I'll expand on this later on in the video.
posts, if you have functioning eyes, unlike Frank Tufano, that he clearly got surgery. And these guys in the comments will sit there and just go on and on. He got no surgery, bro. He only took PEDs.
It's not clear that he got surgery. Like, what is your problem? What the fuck are you doing? What do you want? This fucking cat's being weird. Yeah, the facial changes look like they could very easily just be explained by, like, going through puberty. Just getting older, and obviously steroids, too.
And just go on and on. He got no surgery, bro. He only took PEDs and growth hormone, which he admits to taking. I guess they just want it to be true because it gives them hope. And all of the
I've never admitted to taking growth hormone. I've admitted to performance-enhancing drugs, yes.
surgeries, it's not cheap. I put $100,000 in the title. I think that is correct. And this guy is from Australia, too, so in Australian dollars, I think we're talking over $150,000. Something to keep in mind with all these prominent looks masters, especially the younger
Oh, that's not me. Never mind. Don't know who that is.
ones. These dudes are blasting steroids and growth hormone from the time they're in high school, like 14, 15 years old, and getting major surgeries and Botox and fillers and stuff. The only way this is really possible, in my estimation,
I'm sorry, there's no fucking, like, 14-year-old kid on the planet that can afford 8 IUs of growth hormone per day. Is this guy retarded?
they have to be trust fund babies. They must be rich kids. Because number one, where are young people getting the money in the first place per day this guy has and does take? According to the comments, it's a ton, more than even pro bodybuilders at the highest level.
Yeah, there's no chance. Like, even if they were from rich families, do you think, you honestly think, like, anybody is gonna give their, like, 14 or 15-year-old son, what, like, how much would that be? About $800 a month? For growth hormone alone? Like, no. That's just stupid.
Levels do.
Never said I take growth hormone, so people can say whatever they want. It doesn't really mean anything. A random comment can say I took anything. Doesn't mean it has any credibility to it.
Also, testosterone, I'm sure tren. Who knows what else? So we can see him here. This is his most viral post. Your frame can't grow past 18. This is him before, and you can see in the face when we see the next one too how much of that has changed. But here is his rough bi-deltoid distance, and then in the same shirt now he looks like this. So if you cannot tell simply from this that he got a lot of work done, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you can.
Building muscle makes you wider. I don't know why you think any of this is indicative of surgery. This guy's a fucktard.
How?
See, his eyes look different. He dyed his eyebrows.
Eyes can change.
Different hair color.
Dyeing eyebrows is not getting work done.
Or two, perhaps, assuming it is the same shirt, which I'll take his word for it. This is what makes me say that I think he got the clavicle widening surgery, because as you can see on the screen now, this is.
This guy actually thinks I got clavicle widening surgery. That is the most ridiculous claim I've ever heard in my life. I mean, people on, like, the Looks Max forum would know this obviously isn't true, because I grew my bi-deltoid slowly. It was like, started off probably around 18 and a half, and I was like scrawny. Then it went up to, 20, 20.5, 21, 21.5, 22, etc. This happened over a long period of time, and I was consistently posting on the forum updated pics pretty much weekly or monthly. So everyone knows this is obviously retarded. No one gets clavicle widening surgery. This is actually an absurd claim. I don't know anyone who's gotten it.
This is a candid shot of him in the gym. He's definitely wide, but he does not have a whole lot of back muscle or muscle or really anywhere else. He's a classic dude that gets the pump, and he's on the leaner side, and he edits his pictures too a lot, so he looks much bigger than he actually
I don't edit my pics, but
is. This video here tells the story, so he clearly does not have that much back muscle to make himself appear.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, so Revival Fitness has become like Greg Doucette. He just makes shit up about people.
Absurdly muscular, especially not in the arms, but I'd say my back and delts are pretty decent.
That much lighter. Now, one thing going for him, I believe he's like 6'5". He's extremely tall, so I guess he doesn't have to get the limb lengthening surgery at least. So here's a good example, right? This is him all pumped up in the gym. He's on the leaner side. He's got a solid chest to his credit. You notice the delts though, man. Like I said, now this could just be from the steroids, I suppose, but his delts are noticeably more developed, especially right on the edges, on the outsides, than the rest of his body. I mean, his triceps, not a whole lot going on there. His biceps, I suppose, decent, but he's not that large overall in terms
Valid.
of pure muscle mass, especially for a guy his height. I don't know what this guy weighs. You can't tell the legs much here. You never really see
I weigh probably low hundreds right now.
his legs. That's for a reason.
I'm cutting again, so probably about 100.
I'm sure he's got toothpick legs too. Now you can see this guy comment. You could get to this size naturally. Yeah, you in all likelihood could. It's going to take you a while though. I don't know what exactly he's lifting, but I would not imagine it terribly.
I mean, a very small portion could get to my size naturally. I mean, good luck getting a 24-inch bi-deltoid with 17-inch arms lean naturally. You know, some people could do it, but they're a minority. Could I do it naturally? Certainly not. So I think it's a moot point.
Impressive. He has all these posts all the time. You can't grow your frame past 18. Here's the before picture. Then here's
It's like saying you should never try in life because there's a trust fund guy who makes your money as well without trying. It doesn't make any sense.
the after. In terms of kind of like the upper body, he's got that silhouette that is very good. In terms of the muscle mass, it doesn't really match up. So here's a great example of what I mean. Someone asked, what did you do, bro? This guy says he blasted growth hormone. That's what causes his clavicles to get wide. Literally nothing else. Plenty else.
Growth hormone does not make your clavicles wide. Oh my god. Dude, the amount of fucking fucktards who, like, make up shit about steroids or growth hormone especially. Like, oh my god, the amount of myths that are around growth hormone. Like, it's gonna make your head larger, causes acromegaly. Like, oh my god, it's so stupid.
This guy is a nobody. He knows nothing about
Like,
it.
they've literally never even taken these drugs before, too, which is hilarious.
He's just saying random stuff.
Also highly likely what caused his ogre face. This guy up
Like, how is this guy treating this guy as an authority?
here says lots of steroids and black market peptides along with botched facial surgery. It was
Dude, Revival Fitness has become, like, just retarded. Out of this world fucking retarded. Oh, somebody on Instagram, a random fucking dude commenting, he's an authority on fucking steroids now.
Again, no credibility. Like, who is this random guy?
really botched. I don't think you could say that. If it was botched, I think it would be much more noticeable. He'd look much worse.
I appreciate that.
This one he says, the only people who call me a hypermask ogre are feminine twinks. Yeah, so you remember in the recent video about lifting and looks, I talked about the word ogre, they say? I don't think this guy's an ogre. He still has the full head of hair, or at least he styles it that way. I notice he does have the bangs all the time. Maybe his hairline's kind of falling back on him, which wouldn't be surprising.
Lamau, he does not have 17-inch arms.
Who? Who do you mean? I don't know who you're talking about. Thanks for the donation, Yoshi.
Hairline's never been good. It hasn't changed, though. But, yeah, you know, in my before pics, I had it exposed, and it clearly didn't look good. So it's just not a wise choice for me to have a hairstyle like that.
Given everything he takes, here's him in the bathroom, too. And yet again, are you guys noticing when I said that the delts, I think, have filler? They're just incredibly capped. And again, that could be steroids. But do you feel like that IFBB figure woman look? Really capped delts, but then the arms just are not totally there, even in this one.
That's true. It's genetic. Well, it actually looks absurd there. That doesn't make any sense, though, because if I were to use filler, I would obviously use it in my tricep because that's my weak point. Why would I put it in my strong point? That's always been my strong point. That doesn't make any sense. And I don't think filler is a very viable option to just use cosmetically.
Like, does Revival Fitness not realize that steroids kind of make your muscles grow? Like, this is what my shoulders and arms look like on steroids. They've grown a fucking lot. Like, here's the comparison after only 2 months. Like, yeah, your shoulders are gonna get fucking big on fucking gear. Why would you need filler?
There's a reason bodybuilders don't use filler. They use, like, side enhancement oil, which has a lot of issues to it, so... and that's stuff you've got to, like, consistently do. It's just a ridiculous claim, man. Like, obviously I would put it in my tricep if I were to put it somewhere.
Right, he doesn't have a pump, he's not really flexing. He's trying to a little bit, but his delts are really, really full and rounded compared to everything else. If I had to put money...
I have good delt genetics, yes.
What do people have against violence these days? VG it helped us win against wars and fascism.
Again, just a lot of gay retarded women and twinks and shit. Stupid, delusional fucking people who don't understand how the world works. Thanks for the donation, though, Dodo. Appreciate it.
Given what we know about this guy and all the other procedures, I think he got delt fillers as well. That does exist, by the way, too, guys. It's not simply just bodybuilders.
What if this guy looks like an... That doesn't look normal. Obviously, my delts are actually... Like, you can see...
This guy looks like he just has a lump in his shoulder. Like... Stupid.
See the vascularity all through them. Like, it's pretty obvious.
Pinning in their shoulders over and over for a long time. You can't get direct...
Do you have any tips on increasing arm size? My arms are strong but skinny. Should I train them every day? Wouldn't recommend training them every day. I would say at most probably every other day. But, I have no idea what the fuck this cat is up to. You may want to just try a different set of exercises. You know, like try chin-ups. You can do dumbbell curls with fat grips. You can do a variety of different variations on curls, like, you know, preacher curls. I don't know what your arm routine is. But, yeah, I wouldn't train arms every day, maybe every other day. Every day probably won't recover fast enough. But just try to get stronger at a set of given lifts, like, again, chin-ups, any curl variation you want, within, like, I would say, on average, an 8 to 10 rep range. Even if you are already strong, the whole goal is to just get stronger. So if you can do, like, dumbbell curls with 50 for 8, try to do 60 for 8, or 70 for 8, or 80 for 8.
Fillers in your delts, mogging the Mecca. Oh, this is Gold's Gym in Venice.
That's just not a thing, man.
All right. This guy takes a lot of pictures of himself, just everywhere he goes. I guess you have to do the same thing in my position too, doing social media. See, this right here is a great example of what you can get from angle. So he's leaning forward, he's got the phone up high, he's close to the mirror. For all the time he spends in the gym, all of the PEDs, he could have way more results. He should definitely check out one of my programs, linked.
Is it just me, or this kind of looks the same? Like, obviously this
is clearly a later photo.
Taken, good angle. I think I was to the left of the image, so a little bit of barrel distortion. But looks pretty, slightly better pump. It looks pretty much the same though. I don't really understand. And I was cutting hair and, fuller hair. So, yeah.
He should definitely check out one of my programs, linked down below, as well as the face. In the bottom here, his chin is more projected. It looks like his jaw is wider too. And he definitely dyed those eyebrows. It looks like he got more hair on them too. I don't know if that's like minoxidil or if he got some type of hair transplant there or whatever. And here's what I mean about the...
yeah, all of the above.
Jaw surgery or the implant or whatever. You notice how much farther out his...
Hair transplant on the eyebrows, right.
Jawline is here and his chin projects. Now, guys are going to see this and they will be like, oh, bro, that's just growth hormone. Growth hormone alone is not doing that, guys. On top of that, too, a lot of guys think they're going to Mew their way.
I will put in a video of a gradual side profile transformation showing that this is clearly not surgery.
He just got older. Like, he literally looks like he's fucking 12 in the first photo. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, your face changes when you get older.
As people on the forum would have known, I was posting pics like all the time. There was no down period where I got surgery. Plus, I used to have no money. I didn't even have a job until like 2022 when I'd already ascended. So this is quite a ridiculous claim. It's not like I'm a trust fund kid or something. Like, does this guy really think I came from a trust fund family who gave me clavicle widening surgery, jaw surgery and stuff like at the beginning of my ascension? This is ridiculous.
Into this level of transformation. No, you're not. If you...
Yeah, like, even if he came from money, what fucking parents are gonna pay for their, like, 18-year-old son to get clavicle widening surgery? It's fucking retarded.
You are pre-puberty. Mewing can have some beneficial effects that way, as far as I know, but this level of forward growth in the jaw and the chin here, not happening without some type of medical intervention. His chin's much...
I'm afraid this guy is not an authority on the subject. I am, and everyone will know that I didn't get jaw surgery. It's pretty ridiculous.
Farther out, you can also see that his lower lip on the bottom is farther out too. It's more even with his upper lip. And you can see the cheekbones too. They're much more prominent here on the bottom as opposed to up top. And even with differences in body fat, this is obviously medical intervention. And you can see right here that he
So he's claiming that I got cheekbone surgery as well?
obviously got surgery not long before.
If this was a pic from surgery, why would I post it and then claim I didn't get surgery? That doesn't make any sense. This was after an extreme bone smashing session. Which is quite ironic, right? As all these surgery guys claim the bone smashing doesn't work. So
Dude, that's fucked. So this guy would basically hit himself in the face with a hammer. Bro.
It makes it seem like either I'm completely contradicting them or completely laughing even harder. But yeah, this was clearly bone smashing, right? So, I mean, there's really like a little scratch there. This was a one-night occurrence in July 2024, and I suppose I'll post more photos and videos of that night right now because it was funny. Like, I was literally just ultra swollen for one night from...
This guy has fucking problems.
bone smashing while I was inebriated, so I was able to go really hard.
Or this, I would assume. I mean, you can see, right, he got the implants done on the cheeks. It's all puffy, swollen. Looks like his eyelids are messed up too. I mean, it looks like he just got in a fight. Okay, now let's see what happens after this.
You look tired.
Yeah, once again, I mean, you can see that he had something done. Looks like the hairline is falling back a good amount. So I think.
So yeah, once again, this was an acute period of time that was like 1 or 2 days after the bone smashing. It's not like you know surgery takes like 5 months to recover from, and you're severely swollen. Like, this is not very swollen, man. The other pics were literally edited. That I edited on purpose as a joke, but there was no swelling in like all this jaw region, the buccal region, etc. It was literally just this area here because I bone smashed it.
I think that's why he wears the bang so heavy now, because especially with all the stuff he took in genetic predisposition, his hairline.
Dude, I wonder what kind of fucking problems this guy would have to like smash himself in the face with a fucking hammer. Jeez.
It might be even farther back than it is right here. Even if it's currently here, that's up pretty high. That's very bad for looks maxing.
It's actually better
you can see,
than
right, puffiness and a change in the cheeks and the jaws. And now, and this guy up here comments surgery, obviously. And then this guy says yes, post-surgery, bruised face, and 2 needle scars from fat removal. Oh, so I guess he got fat removal too from his face as well. If you
Oh, yeah, right. I must have, right? If one guy said it, I must have gotten it. He just knows, right? God, like, come on, this is a joke. Yeah, these guys are not authorities. Like, what? This guy's just a moron. And once again, I'm not sure why I would post this if it was a post-surgery photo and I'm like concealing having surgery. That doesn't make any sense.
If you cannot see the obvious after effects of the surgery just in this picture, you don't have any business discussing this. I mean, I don't have a ton of business discussing like hard looks maxing in general. I'm not terribly familiar with all the intricacies of it, but I can look at this and tell you with surgery, you look so different. This guy says HGH and test. This guy says MK677. Someone says not enough. Yeah, dude, MK677 is not going to do this to you. For the love of God. This guy here says surgery. Okay, there's at least a few people in these comment sections that can acknowledge that. Here's a good old clip of him before. Oh, this is classic. Okay, he's very skinny and gangly. He's got the pencil neck going on. You can see his chin is nowhere near as projected here. Sitting there with the headset on, looking like a typical nerd. Very youthful looking in the face. Yeah, he really had minimal eyebrows before too. Here he is, I guess, a little bit later. Okay, now we're improving. He's very lean,
He's
like I said.
like fucking 12. Like, no shit, when you get older, your face changes.
Got a haircut. Cool. Looking better. All right, now we're moving along. I don't think any work done up to this point. He was definitely on a good amount of PEDs by this point, though. All right, his jaw, okay, I think he got it done here. This looks much closer to his current one. So I think the surgery here, this looks much closer to his current one.
I'm curious, though.
On a good amount of PEDs by this point, though. All right, his jaw.
Okay, what about here? What do you think about this? Because this is sort of a midpoint towards the beginning. Did I get surgery here? Like, once again, I can show a gradual progression, so you have to tell me whereabouts I got surgery, at what exact point.
Okay, I think he got it done here. This looks much closer to his current one.
This was in 2020. This pic was in September 2020. Any LooksMax forum user will see this and honestly just laugh at this guy for thinking that I had surgery by September 2020. Surgery takes months to recover from, and this is like a few months into the beginning of my ascension on PEDs. So was I just recovering at home and putting on muscle by doing nothing? Or was I training post-surgery but somehow no swelling? So swelling lasts 5 months. This is September 2020. So we go back to April 2020, which was lockdown, actually. Did I get surgery during lockdown when I was completely pre-ascension?
These anti-violence people are such hypocrites. They say they are against violence of any kind and support pacifism, and yet they also are the same kinds of leftists who talk about wanting to kill Trump.
Yeah, and destroy Israel and support Hamas. Sounds like they're in favor of violence as long as it supports their own ideological, interests. Thanks for the donation, though, Dodo. Appreciate it. Yeah, they're fucking retarded.
That doesn't really make any sense, does it, buddy? In fact, all these other pics, this was in May 2020. Weird, I'm not swollen. Anyway, let's proceed.
Jaw, okay, I think he got it done here. This looks much closer to his current one. So I think the surgery has happened at this point. He looks like a different person already. Looks like his eyes are done here too. The eyelids have been taken down or whatever exactly you call that procedure. I don't know how many SMV points you would say he ascended.
This was May 2021. So once again, have I had the surgery here yet? Because I clearly improve far past this side profile later on. So
that's the word they use, but it's very noticeable for sure. So this guy essentially became like a real life cartoon character. I like how many pictures of himself he takes now from the side, just to show off his jaw work that he got done. Now this is what it's all about right here, right? I mean, at the end of the day, this is why you do the ascension. I mean, given this guy's height, even if he never got anything done, he likely never would have struggled with women, because being that tall is so unique in of itself. You're gonna get so much attention from that alone. I mean, at that height, women will give it to you because you're that rare. Simply for
no, I certainly did struggle with women. I literally didn't have a single woman express attraction to me in the first 18 years of my life. So I'd say I definitely struggled. Obviously, I wasn't tall for the entire time, but yeah, I was around 6'2.5" to 6'3" pre-ascension, and it didn't seem to do me many favors. But yeah, I mean, the better you look, the better it'll be. So.
For the experience. But beyond that too, you improve facially as well. Yeah, he's gonna have no problem with women. And then I guess this guy walks around and does the blue steel face, and people recognize him. And then they make whatever demonic face this is, and they just get willingly mocked. And then he posts it on his feed. He says how I transformed my face, frame, and physique. He says I was very skinny, underdeveloped, and insecure. So I started improving my diet. I joined the gym and studied how to optimize hypertrophy. You sure about that? I started researching and experimenting how to maximize bone growth. In terms of the total number of procedures and all the gear this guy's taken, I don't really study this content a ton, but from what I've seen, he's got not only the most dramatic that I've seen, but it seems like everything has gone pretty well for him. So
I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much.
I would assume this guy is at least pretty smart, because there's a lot that could go wrong with all the PEDs, all of the procedures, all of these things. Now here's an interesting comment. Your kids ain't inheriting none of this. So let's say this guy meets a woman and they end up having a child. The child's gonna look like him before, and I would hope that
this doesn't really make any sense to me, because let's ignore the fact that I could procreate with a good-looking woman and have good-looking kids. Let's say I make a kid like myself. Okay, he has to put in some work in order to succeed. Why would I think that that's a bad thing? Like, do we all want to just give our kids trust funds? The whole point of raising a kid is raising a kid who is going to put in effort into their career, to make a living and make a name for themselves. The way I see it is like, focusing on your career and all that stuff is way, way, way harder than focusing on your appearance. So if they have to focus on their appearance a little bit to look decent, okay, that's like 10% extra effort onto how tough life actually is. So I don't see how this would be a problem at all.
be a woman, you tell her you've got all this work done. I guess in his case it's pretty public, and if you're perceptive, you can tell. If you do all this looks maxing, and then you have a kid, and your kid is, what, sub 5 or whatever term you want to use in the looks maxing community, do you have to start your kid on everything you did? Like, are you going to race him the same way and be like, listen, son, we have to have...
If I believe that I had good enough genetics in the attributes that were actually able to be improved to where I am now, then I think I do have good genetics. I think the way you would determine the significance and importance of a genetic trait is how easy it is to change. So, for example, height. It's very important because it's difficult to change, right? But all my attributes that I was able to improve, they were quite easily changeable, and therefore the genetic baseline for them is really not that important.
I recently got a genome sequence test, and I know all relevant genetics as to whether I'm a high risk or not. First off, my androgen receptor. The determining factor in how sensitive your androgen receptors are is the CAG repeat length. A shorter length means more sensitive, and a high length means less sensitive.
So this guy is who more plates, more dates thought he was going to become.
The average length is 21 to 23 repeats, and mine is actually 24. So my androgen receptor is slightly less sensitive average. Now, my IgG1 receptor. I'm homozygous with RS229765 IgG1 receptor single nucleotide polymorphism. This means I do have potentially a little bit better IgG1 receptor sensitivity. However, now we get into the FOXO3 gene, which I'm also homozygous for.
This guy's science base is health.
It's very good polymorphism, full of genetic. It's very good for mitigating oxidative stress, improving glucose metabolism, mitigating cancer cell growth. But unfortunately, this comes at the cost of blocking growth and activating catabolic genes such as ASTRIN1 and NURF1. So overall, my androgen receptor genetics and IgG1 genetics are nothing special.
All right, that's a good cat. Cat.
Next question, if I could do what I did with these genetics, what could you do with yours?
That is an interesting question, but that assumes that the person has all of the money and all of the time that you do and did to achieve this.
I didn't have money, brother. I certainly did not have money.
ChatGPT can accurately guess how you'll look in 5 years. ChatGPT's guess, reality. Well, that's what happens, man. And realistically, the ChatGPT guess based on this probably would not have been too far off. So we go from this, right? And then with all the work done in the PEDs, we get this. I mean, you really can't have anything else going on in your life. You're not going to be able to have a stable job, or at least if you do, you're going to have to take a lot of breaks from it routinely with the surgeries. Insane amounts of money, all the downtime, maybe people to take care of you. Like, the lavish lifestyle required to even dive into this fully is off the charts. I don't know how much money this guy comes from, but my God, it's got to be a ton. I've said this before about bodybuilding, how it's not a poor...
It's certainly not. I had no handouts. My parents are very middle class, nothing special. And I never had any kind of disposable finances at hand. Now I sort of do. But I ascended many, many years ago. I didn't even work. I didn't come from money. There were no surgeries, brother.
Poor man's game. To be really good at it, this is a straight up trust fund baby's game. This guy says, I've already seen this transformation, and honestly, it's the best I've seen. Yeah, you've already seen it, as you said. It is very impressive, to be fair. I mean, this guy definitely got the results that he was looking for. He looks dramatically different. However, you have...
Thank you. I appreciate that. Once again.
Probably, yeah, use testo, growth hormone, which is not...
Thoughts on 3I Atlas comet?
Scientists are baffled. 3I Atlas, that interstellar comet that's going through our solar system right now, appears to have reversed its thrust as it neared the sun. A comet from another star system slowing down? That shouldn't be possible. You know, guys, this is gonna be some kind of a psyop, right? Now, Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb has been warning us about this for months now, and said we should all take vacations before October 29th, which is today, so we're past the point of no return now. Most scientists, of course, call this just a comet, and it probably is, but Loeb says there is something like a 40 to 60% chance that it's something else, something like an alien scout ship. Now, today also marks perihelion, which is its closest approach to the sun. And since October 21st, 3i Atlas has been perfectly hidden behind the sun, invisible to every telescope on Earth, which is super convenient. So if it is an alien ship, it would be the perfect time for it to perform something that we call an Oberth maneuver, or a gravity assist to slingshot it around the sun to change course, gain speed, sight unseen. But here's where it gets weirder. Just before the government shutdown, NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, the MRO, apparently captured an image of 3i Atlas as it passed by Mars, and Avi Loeb says that he asked to see this image, being a scientist and all, but NASA ignored him. No response, no release, total silence. And then the shutdown hit, so we've got no new official data or updates, which is super convenient and also super sus. But there was this recently released image that allegedly shows 3i Atlas. Now, I've seen some people say this is a hoax, a fake. It's just a photoshopped image of a hex bolt, but it also reminds me of the objects that were seen on the infamous STS footage from the space shuttle missions in the 90s from the Tether incident. Kinda similar looking if you ask me. And now what's even more interesting is that the UN-backed International Asteroid Warning Network, the IAWN, has quietly placed 3i Atlas under continuous surveillance through January 2026, even though it's not going to come anywhere close to hitting us. Basically, they're calling it a monitoring exercise, but many think that it looks more like a global defense drill, or maybe this is all just a cover story. Because maybe it's not just a comet. Maybe this is a psyop, or a test for something bigger.
Well, scientists are keeping a close eye on a massive object flying straight toward our sun, the Manhattan-sized object.
Pretty sure in all likelihood this is, nothing. It's probably just a rock that's moving kind of funny. But thanks for the donation, Zorro.
Not worth it because of health issues in the long run. Nevertheless, huge respect for your amazing transformation.
That is interesting to say, that it's not worth it due to health issues in the long run. I don't think this guy really understands the mechanisms behind these compounds at all.
Okay, guys like this are funny, dude. This is the best transformation I've ever seen. It's not worth it, though, because test and growth hormone. Guys, once again, test and growth hormone, all these other things in isolation don't pose these massive health risks. I know people say that all the time. And
Exactly.
they want it to be true. It's really not. Now, the amount that he's taking, perhaps, if you want to get major results, right, whether
Well, I mean, you don't know how much I took, so you're just assuming.
okay, looks, muscle, both, whatever. You cannot optimize your health 100% and get the best of. So to wrap up, he's going to tell us how to avoid heart growth on PEDs.
What I do to mitigate left ventricular hypertrophy. So I take telmisartan, which is an angiotensin receptor blocker.
Telmisartan reduces blood pressure, and 200 mg of that is a massive dose. You can see guys in the comments saying 200 milligrams, that's insane, bro. Yeah, it is insane. This guy says if I take 40 mg of telmisartan while on 1 gram of test, my blood pressure is like 90 over 40. Yeah, and that is low. So this is going to be...
That is a hyper response to the compound. That doesn't make really much sense for the average person.
Don't bite me.
And once again, the reason I take 200 milligrams of telmisartan, which actually I don't anymore, I don't really have enough of it. But in theory, taking 200 milligrams is good because, yes, there is a ceiling effect at around 80 milligrams in terms of the AT1 antagonism, but you get further PPAR gamma benefits up to like 300 milligrams. So that's why I take 200 milligrams. It's for the PPAR gamma benefits. And this also, telmisartan just has so many good properties to it. You really want to minimize AT1, not only for blood pressure, but to minimize fibrosis in the heart and myocyte growth in the heart. And it even increases endothelial function, decreases vascular permeability. There are just so many benefits to AT1 antagonists. So I would pretty much recommend everyone to take an angiotensin receptor blocker, probably, unless you're in risk of going hypertensive, which...
Have you heard of the new show Pluribus? No, I've not. We already have snow on the ground here in Wisconsin. It's snowed, but it hasn't accumulated yet. Yeah, there's Gum Gum. She's my kitty. Kitty loves to cuddle.
Which I'm not, I'm like 105 over 65 usually.
A vary per person, of course, but he said earlier that his blood pressure was, what, 120 over 90? And he's on that massive of a dose.
That was before this. I'm chilling now.
Of telmisartan. I mean, that's like 4 to 5 times, maybe even more, of the recommended dose, even for people on a decent amount of steroids. If he is taking no telmisartan...
People don't really understand the dose response curve of telmisartan. So they're taking 200 versus 80 versus 40. There's not actually that huge of a difference. It's not like, oh, he's taking 200, he must be on so much. No, dude, I'm just more...
No, Gummy doesn't like the snow. It's wet and cold, and he doesn't like it. Here's Gum Gum. He's doing cat stuff. You're such a good kitty. So good. So nice and sentient. Such a good baby. He's so gosh darn sentient.
More conscious about antagonizing AT1 because I believe it to be a very toxic pathway in the body. That's all it really comes down to.
What's this guy's blood pressure? There's no way to really know, but it's probably very, very high.
Secondly, beta blocker. So I take Tufano, and this usually decreases androgen tone and results in low heart rate, low blood pressure, and once again mitigates hypertension.
And once again, too, man, I mean, we are on a pharmacy of stuff here. I struggle to believe that he's getting all of this stuff from a doctor. Maybe with the money he has, he can do that. But I would assume he's getting all of this from underground sources, too. So much money into this and still going into this. In terms of the surgery, I don't know if he's done or not. Maybe he'll do more. But this is what you're going to have to do, guys, to ascend so-called this drastically. And some of you may look at this and think he doesn't even look good after all of this, too. I think he looks objectively better than before in terms of the overall sort of like looks maxing ideal that he's going for. Whether you guys realize it or not, more and more people are going to be getting these procedures, not simply women with the boobs in the butt and Botox and stuff and the nose jobs. A lot of men are doing this, too. I mean,
I'll say I get told I'm uncanny a lot online, but people that recognize me and meet me in real life, they very often say that I look a lot less uncanny in real life. So when you see me in motion, speaking, smiling, people seem to say that I do not look uncanny at all in real life, but then they're like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, in some of your pics, you kind of do look uncanny. So that is something that I feel like is worth mentioning.
There's entire forums online and YouTube channels where guys discuss this at length, what to do. And we live in the social media age now. I would argue that humans have always been vain and really favoring looks above almost anything else. At the baseline level, before there was like money and even civilized society and jobs, you're compelled to reproduce with the people you find most attractive. And I think this
pretty based
guy in a way is going to be a trendsetter, at least in terms of his publicity about this, even if he's hiding the surgeries he's gotten, or at least like, kind of hinting at them but not being total.
I do want to be a trendsetter. I believe the things that I've done can be replicated by you guys to improve all of your lives. So 100%, yeah.
Be honest. And on top of that too, there's AI coming up too now. I'm sure people are going to be getting surgery advice from AI, and AI is going to analyze their faces and all this stuff too. So this rabbit hole is going to get much, much deeper. This is for you to decide. But would you rather die younger and look great the entire time, or at least look how you want, or get really old and look like a withered raisin? And people would say over time your perspective on that changes. Probably true, but fuck it, we ball. But this has been it for me, guys. Thank you for watching. If you want to get into
Okay, so I suppose I will go back and I'll put in the videos of like a gradual transformation. And yeah, I just have to say, I appreciate this guy acknowledges that my ascension was good and striking and that I improved and I etc. But yeah, obviously there are a lot of assumptions being made, like, oh, I took extremely high doses of XYZ, or I took growth hormone, or I had a bunch of surgery, including like clavicle lengthening surgery, jaw surgery, like cheekbone surgery, or eye surgery as well. So he thinks I got like 5 different surgeries. The thing is, one thing that doesn't make any sense is that my main flaw has always been my nose. So if I would have gotten surgery, my first surgery would have been a rhinoplasty. That's the funniest part of all. I think, honestly, that is actually the funniest part of all. Though, I mean, I do say that growth hormone has a use case. I just personally couldn't source it back in the day because I was poor.
Here's this something people don't understand response to being pacifists. To quote Drake and Josh, when people play dirty sometimes you just gotta play dirty back.
Yes, words of wisdom from Drake and Josh. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
Poor. So yeah, I wasn't able to use growth hormone, but I think growth hormone can definitely be used to ascend for sure. But yeah, if you guys want to figure out how to ascend like I did, you can check out my course in the description, or you can inquire about private coaching if you have a more niche issue that you want one-on-one dedicated coaching for. But apart from that, I appreciate the publicity of the video. Have a good one, guys.
All right. Some of androgenic stuff is
Stalin's plan, his
and the visible limits we all cage ourselves with. The truth is this, that there are no
Gay. Yeah, I'm not watching that. Far too gay. They're releasing Kill Bill all parts as one movie. You gonna see it? Probably not. Fucking liberal government. I fucking hate the liberals so much.
Character selection screens are one of the least considered aspects of fighting games, even though it's actually a very important part of the experience. You might not think about it all that much, but a good layout is essential for a smooth experience. Ideally, the player should spend as little time on this screen as possible. I mean, it's why they usually put timers on these things. If a player wants to play as a certain character, you need to structure things in such a way where they can be guided to where that fighter is. An easy way to do this is by structuring it around a dynamic like alignment, rivalries, and relationships. If I want to find Sonya Blade and I spot Jax or Kano, I should be able to find her immediately by intuiting.
What are your thoughts on this?
There are girls naked in there. Look at them walking in there like it's okay. It's not okay.
Nobody cares.
You guys see the woman that got kicked out
Nobody
of
cares. Thanks for the donation, dude.
Intuiting her spot from there. So today, I'm going to go through the
Dammy the coot just made me realize Nick Aladdin was pretty dame based for a kids channel.
Yeah, I guess so. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
the Mortal Kombat games and highlight why this is such an issue. If people like it, I can cover other series like Smash or Tekken. And just for context, I'm not saying that creating a good layout is easy. I spent quite a while trying to get these just right, so I know the struggle. My point is that...
Did you see Darius was talking about you on Destiny stream earlier? No, what did he say?
It often feels like very little thought was put into them at all. For the first few titles, there's really not a whole lot wrong with the layouts because the rosters are so small and there isn't much you can draw from to create a logical layout. For MK1, I've made a new one in the name of completion, but it's not necessary to change. I just moved the two rivalries to opposite sides of the upper row and had Johnny sit in the middle of the standalones on the bottom, since Liu Kang and Raiden feel like they'd have had a rivalry if Raiden's role hadn't changed in MK2. MK2 is less forgivable since it comes with so many more character dynamics, but the cast are just thrown in at random. Look at the rows. Earth Heroes and Reptile, Sub-Zero and Outworlders, and just whoever's left, even though most of them have a connection to another fighter. I considered a faction-based layout, but the sides aren't even, which throws the balance off. So I instead paired the characters with allies or enemies, and placed them opposite each other on the select screen, main characters on row 1, ninjas on row 2, and the rest on row 3, with row 3 having its own divide between MK1 and MK2 fighters. The same could be done on row 2, but I'm not committing.
Just looks fucking weird. Why, I don't understand why Johnny Cage would be at the bottom left. Next to Reptile, then. Why would Kitana be on the left?
Why does nobody care?
Let me see.
If you're supporting this man in the women's locker room at Gold's Gym,
Yeah, nobody cares. People been whining about dudes in women's restrooms for fucking years now. Don't give a shit. It's, like, yeah, great. It's a dude. I get it. Whatever. Thanks for the donation, man.
Into it as a core design principle. And our starting positions are the hero Liu Kang
topic.
and his new companion Kung Lao. Makes sense. Alternatively, we can place Kitana as Liu Kang's rival since her being his love interest was the plan since MK1, and place Scorpion with the villain since the game presents him as being out to kill Sub-Zero until partway through the tournament and all the ninjas are together. Then the other monk is opposite the other sister, who is with her fellow Tarkatan, who is opposite the other newcomer. Either of these layouts work really well, I think. Once we reach MK3's 15 characters, I think a lack of careful placement gets much harder to forgive. There are hints of structure, like
It all makes sense now how Nick was the only one of the 3 kids channels that didn't have those bullshit anti-bullying ads.
Yeah, somebody at Nickelodeon must have been based. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
like Liu Kang being opposite Shang Tsung, Sonya and Stryker being together, or Jax and Kano being together, but that feels incidental. I mean, Sub-Zero is with two of the Cybers, but the other one is on the opposite side on his own. It's bizarre. I placed Liu Kang and Shang Tsung into the default slots opposite each other, using them as the example through which the player should be able to intuit the layout's intent. Accompanying them are Liu Kang's friend, new key player Sindel in the center, and Sindel's bodyguard and Shokan fighter who makes sense as a rival to Kung Lao, Shiva. I kept Smoke's secret slot in the center and surrounded him with his cyber brethren. Sub-Zero is with them, and Nightwolf is there because he has nowhere else to go. Maybe you can say the Shaman with the soulless machines makes sense. Bottom row is law enforcement and criminals, with the positions being obvious. For Ultimate MK3, what the hell is this? The overhang is a neat addition, but the ninjas are scattered, so are the Edenians, the Black Dragon, the monks. It's nonsense. Mine keeps the ninjas, cyber ninjas, and lady ninjas together, keeps the normal dudes line, and then fills in the blanks in ways that make sense, with Liu Kang and Shang Tsung as the default characters. Easy. And because of this new layout, the three locked characters in the middle are now Smoke, Ermac, and Jade, instead of Melina, Ermac, and Classic Sub-Zero. MK Trilogy is another uncoordinated mess, and reworking it is a little tougher since the rows now have even numbers of slots. One option is to have the ninjas on top, the cybers below with the more tech-based characters, then the Edenians and two strongly related characters, and then the rest above the bosses. Sub-Zero and Classic Sub-Zero are the
If you were to wake up in Cyberpunk, how much chrome would you get? What would your favorite implant be?
I think some kind of implant that increases my reaction time, so something that just makes your nervous system super efficient. So if you ever get into like a shootout or something, you can just blast somebody way faster than they can shoot at you. That would seem to be the most useful. And other than that, I guess just something that would give me a lot of body armor and resistance to getting shot. Thanks for the donation though, Lada.
Default characters. Alternatively, you can make the rows be 7 across and make it a rectangle, which makes for better character placement at the cost of a unique.
Is this a wise way to make YouTube content like this guy? He got 1 million views doing this for 3+ hours.
Zippity pippity whippity vroom 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 piggy. Zippity pippity pippity. Zippity. Sloping boy, sloping boy, sloping. Hey.
Well, look at that. He finally had a video get views. But, no. This dude has been trying hard to get attention on YouTube and has failed over and over and over again, and I think he only had like one video go viral. So, no. Thanks for the donation, Zoro.
Layout. I prefer the former personally. Trilogy N64 dropped the overhang and had a slight reshuffling, but the positions are mostly the same as the other versions, just dropping Sub-Zero for Chameleon. I put the ninjas on top, then the cyber ninjas and female ninjas, with the White Lotus group and their rivals down the sides, SF and BD second to last, and then whoever's left for the bottom row. Sub-Zero and Scorpion are our starters. I think this actually looks better than the main Trilogy version. MK4 brought the roster size down to base MK3's 15, so I can go a little easier on it than the last two. But it's still so random. By this point we have so many character relationships firmly established across multiple games, and the closest we get to referencing them is that Sub-Zero has Quan Chi and Fujin on either side, and that two ladies named after Ed Boon's sisters are opposite one another. It sucks. My version once again places the main characters at the top, Liu Kang and his apprentice in the default slots, with the gods in between, Big Bad Shinnok at the very center of them. Row 2 focuses on the ninjas and Quan Chi's involvement in manipulating them, with Reptile and Johnny mostly filling space. Row 3 is for the special forces and their rival Jarek, with Reiko and Tanya filling space, but giving us 3 villainous newcomers down the center. MK Gold, despite adding exactly 1 row of characters to the screen, rearranged everyone I think because they also saw the issues. Newcomers fill row 1, and row 2 is the main heroes of Earthrealm. Good stuff. Row 3 and 4 are kinda random though. Why the L of Gods? Why separate Kai from the other mortal heroes? And why put Raiden in the middle of a villain row? My version spreads the newcomers among the rest. The monks and gods go up top, followed by the ninjas and Quan Chi. Row 3 has Sonya and Jarek opposite each other, Johnny next to Sonya since a bit of hinting was starting around this time, then Jax under Sonya and opposite fellow ARM character Baraka, with the Edenians in the middle of the bottom row.
MK4 had some of the weirdest character portraits. Like, it honestly looks like it was made by AI, especially Jax. I remember when I first got MK4 as a kid, I didn't know who the fuck this was. It wasn't apparently obvious. Because, like, they just made Jax look fucking weird. Jarek, I don't even know why they had Jared or Jarek. Is Jared or Jarek? Why in the fuck didn't they just have Kano? They literally made him Kano, but they didn't call him Kano, and he just looked more lame. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with the reptile design. That just made no fucking sense. Baraka and Melina and shit weren't even in the, like, N64 version. This is the MK Gold version. Kai was, like, the shittiest fucking character in the whole fucking game. Quan Chi was actually pretty cool. Shinnok was just the shittiest, lamest fucking boss of all time. Like, bro, you went from, like, Shang Tsung, Goro, Kintaro, and, Kintaro, Shao Kahn, and, who's the horse guy? Motaro. And then you have Shinnok, fucking guy who looks like, one of those... He looks like if the Pope was evil, basically. Just find, like, some Catholic priest, you know, at the Vatican, turn his skin gray and his eyes glowing blue, and then there's Shinnok. Gayest fucking boss design ever.
We start on our main hero and the gold exclusive Kung Lao. For Deadly Alliance, I suspect they decided who would be Locks first and built the layout around that. But few of the Locks characters feel like they're Locks for a specific reason in the way an MK9 Quan Chi or MKX Shinnok do. The only parts that feel like there was any intention behind it are the Deadly Alliance taking the top corners and being the default positions, and the entire Natara Cyrax Reptile narrative being locked to start. My version places Kung Lao and Raiden in the default slots as the ones left to follow in Liu Kang's footsteps, with his mentor in between. Then Scorpion and Sub-Zero are opposite each other with Frost in between, then the OIA with their villainous rivals beneath them. Then the three standalone characters start the locked side of the roster, followed by the Vaeternus plotline cast, and the two bosses and the sub-boss's friend at the bottom. Deception marks the first instance of Scorpion and Sub-Zero being the default spots for player 1 and 2 respectively. The order is mostly random, again owing to half the roster being locked by default. My take focuses heavily on rivalries and a few friendships / mentorships, and keeps the villains mostly sequestered to the right side. The GameCube port added Shao Kahn and Goro to the middle, but that doesn't affect much. It also rearranged a few of the unlockable characters from the original, since half of them were now available from the start, and they needed the locked ones on the outer edge. They really wanted Kenshi to be missable, eh? I think swapping Li Mei and Hotaru here was an error, since they fixed it when... Unchained took it further by adding 4 more characters to the middle along with the GameCube exclusive other major players at the very end. All I'd change on the left, with Johnny actually planned green for male ninjas, blue for male fighters,
Dude, he's really gonna do Armageddon. Oh
purple for central figures and bonus fighters, pink for women and then for monsters, and then red for bosses, while some of Scorpion and Sub-Zero.
Holy fuck, why even bother? Dude, what a pain in the ass. It's fucking MK Armageddon, dude.
Are now the default positions. The male are cast into core rivalries, with Baraka and Green Lantern left and
I
DC
remember this fucking horse shit. This game, sucked.
on the right. Scorpion and Batman are at the far ends as the default positions. With such a small
Oh my god, I'm just so sick of you. Bye-bye.
roster, it's perfectly serviceable, but I arranged the cast into core rivalries, with Baraka and Green Lantern being the only one I feel is a stretch. I do think the bosses being relegated to a button press to access them once unlocked duos for the most part. There's the odd Johnny and Nightwolf, but that's forgivable for how few specific connections they have with the rest of the cast here. My only real issue is placing Kano opposite Jax instead of Sonya, or Stryker being beside Kano instead of Kabal. The bottom row is for Shiva, the Unlockables, and Kratos on PlayStation. It's overall a very good menu with one exception. This is also where DLC started being a factor. With this game, they got lazy and put them on a side menu next to Cyber Sub-Zero. to that, I want to do a quick detour and discuss Injustice here as well, because this game has one of my favourite character select menus in the entire genre for how unique it is. The grid is split across the outer edges of the screen, heroes on the left and villains on the right, with characters positioned across from their rivals, Batman and Joker, Green Lantern and Sinestro, Shazam and Black Adam for instance. They even placed the Trinity on the inner edge and grouped associated characters like Bruce and Dick where possible. The villains suffer a little from misalignment, but that's mainly because the villains weren't all chosen to match a hero, so it's not a big deal. Even without that, the even split of hero and villain is laudable given how rare that is in superhero games. And the DLC characters are also split like this, but since they don't have specific rivalries, they're positioned in a way that doesn't interfere with the character renders in the middle of the screen. No suggestions, 10 out of 10. I want all future crossover fighters to use this layout if possible because
I wasn't the biggest fan of Injustice 1. Injustice 2 was more fun to play casually, offline, but holy fuck, as soon as you played that game online, it was just zoning. Everyone just chooses the strongest zoning characters, and you're just fucked.
Is bloody sick. MKX is fine overall, but it's always bugged me that they dumped Kotal in the middle on his own instead of the unlockable boss Shinnok or the pre-order sub-boss Goro. Scorpion and Sub-Zero set the precedent that rivals or affiliated characters are opposite each other. Simultaneously, the old generation are placed opposite their successors on the top row, with Katana and her clone, and Scorpion and his enemy's younger brother cutely being
MKX was pretty cool. Some of the combat kids were like fucking gay, like Takeda or whatever. Jax's daughter was alright, but Kun-Jin was fucking lame. The best one by far was Cassie Cage. She was actually a really cool character.
presented in the same way. But then it just does whatever. Liu Kang and Ferritor, Kano and Quan Chi. I recognise that Johnny and Kano are where they are for a reason, but their supposed connections to the opposite side make no sense. The only part that works is Shinnok and Goro because one is unlockable and the other is technically DLC. Rearranging this one is the most difficult because you have to decide whether you're focused on rivalries or the new generation concept or trying to do both. So my version focuses on the idea of predecessor and successor. There are limits to what can be achieved here thanks to some characters having multiple predecessors or characters like Sub-Zero being disconnected from that. I placed the combat. There's no thought put into the layout beyond that, but the small stage list means it's not the heroes despite a weird one on the right, with the training stage and DLC stage in the middle. Injustice 2 is a weird one. Since the game is solely focused on the Regime universe this time around, those are the versions depicted here. So Superman, Robin and Wonder Woman are on the right side with the villains, but Aquaman is with the heroes despite remaining on Superman's side until the end, and we have Black Canary in the middle as Wonder Woman's opposite, while CoverGirl Supergirl is opposite Final Boss Brainiac, which makes sense but does throw things off. However, while I feel it's weak in the big picture, I do see the effort put into matching characters on opposite sides, be it rivals, similar personas, elements, kings, etc. A few are just made of whoever's left, but this is probably the most consideration for positioning since Injustice 1, which had the benefit of having a lot more classic hero-villain rivalries. Were these two just made by a completely different team? The DLC is where it fails, with new heroes being on the villain side, new villains being on the hero side, and guests on the top left and bottom right? Red Hood being put in the middle of Batman and Superman seems random at first, but as Batman's ally who crosses the line like Superman does here, it makes sense, even if Damian would be the better pick to go there. I tried a few things, but I honestly concluded that the problems I have with the base roster layout are the lesser of two evils for the most part, so I'm leaving those the same and only changing the DLC layout. Guests are...
Yeah, I didn't get any of the DLC for this game. I forgot Hellboy was in it. I did want to play. Do I actually have? I think the PC version I got. I might actually have the DLC. I just don't. I just didn't play it again.
On the outside with Raiden stages. MK11 tried an entirely new layout with this new diamond shape. A little lopsided, but they filled it out over time, but never got to the full rectangle, unfortunately. The novelty of the shape doesn't save it from being a little weak, however. There's an attempt with the SF together and the Revenants together with Kano there alongside Cabal, and I aimed for rivals and counterparts of. I'm going to MK11 isn't the worst in the series, but difficult to navigate. Unaffiliated stages on the top row.
Dude, MK1 sucked. This game was so shit in like every imaginable way. Apparently the original idea for this was for it to be a tag team fighter, and for whatever fucking reason, the publisher didn't want it to be tag team or something, or like maybe they reduced their budget or some shit. So they ended up developing that cameo system instead, which fucking sucks and is fucking retarded, and it makes no fucking sense how it works. And it's just frustrating seeing these really well-designed characters that you can't actually play as. And on top of that, the fucking story was so stupid. So after MK Armageddon on like the PS2 era, they do the reset where, oh, we're going back in time and, you know, like everything changes a little bit. Then they get to the part, like, you know, the final trilogy with MK11, where, okay, Fire God Liu Kang, he gets to create the universe the way he wants. They do the exact same thing. So now we're going back in time again, where things are, like, how many times is this gonna fucking happen? And they just yeeted some of the best characters, like Cassie Cage, which is fucking annoying. They did some of the dumbest, gayest fuckwit shit with some of the character designs. They made fucking Scorpion have a scorpion tattoo. Like, are you fucking serious? Like, why didn't you give Sub-Zero a fucking polar bear tattoo? They even gave fucking Reptile a fucking, like, reptile tattoo. Like, it's so fucking retarded. Like, what are you fucking doing? And, like, yeah, just... So, the story sucked. A lot of the character designs were just fucking horrible.
Yet a new reason I'm glad I left New York.
Let me see. Dude, I think I'd just... Oh my god, I wouldn't be able to fucking handle that. I would have to go to war with these people if I had to hear the fucking Muslim prayer every fucking morning. Thanks for the donation, Dodo. Yeah, and the combat system was just terrible. The cameo system makes absolutely no fucking sense. There's different rules for every cameo. You don't know when the fuck you can and can't use them, and all this retarded weird shit. They should have, like... If they couldn't implement that tag team system, they should have just scrapped it entirely. Like, why in the fuck would you... Doesn't even make any sense. Like, it's inexplicable. So it's like supposed to be a one-on-one fighting tournament, but then like randomly Kano is your cameo, even though he like none of the cameo fighters are even fighting in the tournament. Like, what fucking sense does any of that horse shit make? So that was all just retarded. Overall, like, the roster in terms of, you know, like, favorite characters, it was pretty decent. The one thing that really annoyed me, though, was Raiden. Like, aside from, like, you know, the Scorpion... Like, technically, Scorpion is Smoke, and Scorpion is Sub-Zero, but he's Scorpion now, and then the other Sub-Zero is the original Sub-Zero. It's fucking stupid. Bi-Han, Kuai Liang. That was fucking dumb. No reason to do that at all. They made fucking Raiden some random Chinese guy, and he has his electricity powers because of a medallion. that just seemed remarkably lame to me. Outrageously lame. I just don't get it. It's dumb.
Then. Later, they moved the empty slot to the middle for symmetry, swapped Reptile and Bihan, and moved the bottom right characters over one, and kinda looked their way into a better layout, where rapid punchers, sword users, infectious monsters, and unkillable fighters were all paired up. It's fascinating how this was a complete accident, but works way.
Oh yeah, don't get me started with some of the fucking DLC too. Cyrax and Sector, let's for no reason make them female and also not make them cyborgs and have them just have armor. So let's make let's just make the lamest, dumbest, gayest version of these characters that we could ever fucking conceptualize. They're like, it's also really weird to me that they would have Omni-Man and the fucking Homelander. That was just really weird to me. They're basically the exact same character, like, you know, conceptually. Fake hero who's really a bad guy, you know, posing as a good guy, but they're just from different intellectual properties. I thought that was really strange. Ghostface Killer sort of makes sense. Like, that was kind of a cool idea. I thought it was cool that John Cena was in the game. Obviously, Conan was dope and the T-1000 was dope. It's just that, like, it's a shame that, like, you know, two of the coolest DLC characters they ever made are in the shittiest fucking Mortal Kombat game they ever fucking shat out.
Way better. The DLC, however, places all the.
Oh yeah, and the noob Cybot design was fucking awful. That was just horrendous. Just so bad.
Ninjas and ninja adjacent characters on the far left, and Quan Chi with the guests, and they couldn't even put the evil Supermen together and had Ghostface separate Arnie from T-1000 and Peacemaker from Robert Patrick. Guys, this is easier than you make it look! I moved almost everyone, so here are the highlights. The pre-order and unlockable fighters are now aligned. The Outworlders are aligned into good and evil blocks. Kenshi is with Liu Kang's other chosen, Liu Kang is with Gearus, and Ashura is positioned with her rival, Natara. For the final version, I have Reptile in the middle, Noob next to Go on the end side, while the bottom row puts Scorpion and Sub-Zero and Goro and Motaro side by side, but otherwise has no discernible structure, and certainly none that aligns with the top row. By the time.
Yeah, the cameos are just so fucking stupid. Like, again, I can't get over how this made sense to fucking anybody. So, we have fucking cameos that you can use, but none of these people are in the story or fight in the actual tournament, but in a one-on-one fighting tournament, you can tag somebody in to be annoying who's not actually in the tournament. Like, fuck you, dude. What a stupid, stupid thing they did making this game.
By the time we reached the end of support, Jax was moved to the middle.
Yeah, the first Hellboy movie was good.
So they are willing to characters doing the guys on the Rom on the left, but that.
Yeah, the cameos are so
it's
stupid. I fucking hate the cameo system. That just drove me fucking nuts. Oh yeah, and for MK1, they charged you up the asshole for the DLC. That was the most, like, insane, outrageously expensive fucking DLC ever. Like, there's no justifying that. That was fucking ridiculous. You're basically paying for a full-price game to get a shitty, like, 2-hour fucking story DLC and whatever the dumb fucking DLC characters were. That was so bad. Mortal Kombat 3 Ultimate Super NES, the best you can rush and hit with 25 plus combos. I was a dumbass kid when that game came out. I could never do like any of the fucking dialer combos. I really liked Ultimate MK3 though. I only played it at the arcade. I just had MK3 for Sega Genesis. Spaghetti.
I eat unlimited sugars all year round. Fruit, sugar, water, rice. I cycle 3 to 6 days per week. I am self-made, have money, 18-year-old Chinese vegan girlfriend. I'm around 50 years old. Who am I? Say his name. Hashtag say his name. Say it, pussy.
Thanks for the donation. The Havoc DLC is one of the worst DLCs of all time. Yeah, it's just fucking so bad. I don't know what the hell happened to them. I'm hoping the new Injustice game is going to be cool. Because, yeah, MK1, no thanks. Just totally, I was just done with that game by the time I finished the main story campaign. That was just so disappointing and awful. And the online matches are just fucking lame. Yeah, the cameo system fucking ruined it. It was just trash. So hopefully the new Injustice is good and it's, you know, at least fun on a casual level. And hopefully they have some better ideas for Mortal Kombat 2, whatever the fuck they're gonna name it.
If you want to know if someone really understands evolution, just ask them this one weird question.
Why does poop smell bad?
Wow. Oh gosh.
Because there's bacteria in it, I guess.
Microbiome, probably. Trash.
Yeah, trash
of the body. The food
What do you mean poop smells bad? Whose poop?
we eat because of the chemicals.
Farts don't always smell bad. So, yeah, well, that's a different question entirely.
Do you think it objectively smells bad?
Yes, I think so. Yes.
How do you think it smells to flies?
Like the
They like it. They like it.
Animals love stinky things.
Yeah.
They're attracted.
Do you only attract fat girls or is that just what you're into?
Poop smells good to flies because poop is full of nutrients. They use it as food. But it's also full of bacteria that can be life-threatening to humans. So the real reason poop smelled bad to us is because if anyone ever thought it smelled good, they would probably get really sick, die, and not pass on their genes. After all, it's about survival of the fittest. But survival of the fittest what?
I mean, most people think of natural selection as being about the survival of the fittest individual animal.
Individual.
Animal. Okay, so it's like an individual.
Yeah. Which makes sense. I mean, individuals best adapted to their environment have increased odds of survival and therefore a higher likelihood of passing on their genes. So it follows that each individual should do everything it can to survive and reproduce. That is, it should be selfish.
But if that's true, then how do you explain this?
I mean, worker bees will sting predators to protect the hive, even though it might kill them in the process. Female worker ants are sterile, so they can't reproduce. But regardless, they work for the colony for their entire lives until they die. Monkeys adopt...
Alan Woke, Johnny Tillers, 21st has been hate watching you for how long now? Do you think he's at least vegan? Lol, I have no idea. Thanks for the donation, dude.
Orphans, wolves bring meat to non-hunting members of the pack, and squirrels can let out alarm calls.
Mike Johnny Tillers are young people who blame current economic conditions solely on capitalism being irrational. Yes, thanks for the donation.
To warn others about nearby predators.
So if natural selection is all about selfish individuals, why do we observe so much altruism in nature?
The survival is of the species that can adapt.
I think generally the species.
For the survival of the species.
So it's the survival of the species. Okay.
But survival of the fittest species or the fittest group also doesn't work. I mean, think about what you need for natural selection to occur.
You need something that replicates itself many times over, creating copies, and then you need a pruning process whereby some of those copies get eliminated and some thrive to go on and create more copies. The problem with groups or species as a whole is that they don't typically make copies of themselves. So you almost never get copies of groups fighting other copies of groups to see which groups win out.
So if it's not survival of the fittest individual and it's not survival of the fittest group, then what is it? Well, to explain that, I want to take you on a little journey, all the way back to the beginnings of the Earth.
Where we are now, there is nothing. Well, not really nothing, but nothing interesting. There are only simple things like these blobs. This one might be a carbon dioxide molecule, or it might be cyanide. We don't know for sure what they are, but we do know that these compounds are very simple. So for now, they'll just be blobs floating around our void. In fact, much of what we'll encounter along our journey here are just hypotheses. A lot of Earth's early history is still a mystery, so keep that in mind. Now, every so often, our blobs get a surplus of energy, maybe from a ray of UV light or a nearby hot source. This is the first major upgrade to our void, excess energy, as it allows our blobs to interact with each other. Most of the time, this interaction leads to nothing, but sometimes these blobs can combine into more complicated compounds. Here's a simple simulated example where we only have 4 red blobs. Right now, they are all individual particles, but each time step we move forward...
Do you have any crazy public gym stories? To be honest, public gyms are hard for me. My gym is always packed and crowded. Have you ever had someone be an asshole to you? Also, I can't stand Joey Swole, he's a faggot.
No, don't have any crazy stories. Thanks for the donation, N-word.
Let's say there's a 10% chance that all 4 combine into one red megablob. Now imagine this megablob isn't very stable.
Yes, I am.
For every time step it's alive, it has a 95% chance of falling apart back into the 4 smaller blobs. If we add more of these red blobs into the mix, you'll notice that they rarely ever come together. On average, a megablob only exists around 10% of the time. But if we were to reduce the chances of the megablobs dissolving to only 1%, the void would suddenly be filled with them. This fact hints at an important law that governs our void, the law of stability. Unstable blobs fall apart and vanish, stable ones endure. Now watch what happens if we speed this up dramatically, maybe a couple of years per second, maybe even a couple million. You can see our blobs keep getting random jolts of energy, so they combine with others to form more complex compounds. Most attempts fail and fall apart, but every so often, by pure chance, you get a compound that is more stable than the blobs it's made of. This doesn't happen because the blobs want to build more complex structures, it's just because these new configurations happen to be more favorable in the environment. And now when these complicated compounds become abundant enough, they too get a chance to combine, making our void increasingly complex. And one day, by accident, this causes an extremely unique shape to form, one with a special property. See, the blobs it's made of just happen to attract similar blobs from the surrounding environment.
Jared donated $2. Let me see. Yeah, that guy's pretty ridiculously strong.
Come on.
I wonder what he's taking. Like, he's talked about being on steroids, obviously, but I wonder what exactly he's on. He's pretty ridiculously strong. Especially for his size. Yeah, that's some insane weight. Thanks for the donation, Jared.
This red blob always attracts green blobs, and this purple blob always attracts yellow ones. And piece by piece, all these blobs attract their opposites, until their counterparts suddenly snap into position next to the original shape. Now, this shape goes on to do the same thing. Its green blobs attract red ones, and yellow ones attract the purple, until another shape yet again snaps into position. This new shape looks exactly like the original. What just happened, fully spontaneously, is replication. One shape became 2. This marks the birth of the first replicator. We don't know exactly what this replicator looked like. It might have been a single standalone molecule, or a group of molecules that worked together to replicate. There's a lot of debate on this today, so instead, let's represent the replicator as a character. How about this one here? Perfect. Keep in mind, it's still just a lifeless molecule, one without any intent or purpose. Now, you might think that the chances for the replicator to form were extremely unlikely. But in our void, where we have hundreds of millions of years to play with, what might seem impossible to us becomes virtually inevitable. And the thing is, the replicator only has to arise once. Once it's here, it can take the simpler compounds available in the environment to copy itself at a much faster pace. And so it does that until it entirely fills our void. At least, that's what you'd expect. But there is a flaw in the process. See, during the replicator's conquest of the void, one of its copies makes a mistake. Perhaps a stray ray of UV light hits it during the replication process, or the replicator uses a building block it wasn't supposed to. As a result, what we're left with is a new shape which is slightly different from its parent, and so its properties might be slightly different too. This error might be harmful. For example, it might make the copy less stable. It could be beneficial, making the copy better at replicating. Or it could be neutral, not changing the replicator in any meaningful way. This marks the final milestone in our void, mutation. Many species of replicators now occupy the void, and what they do is they replicate themselves. The problem is they all need the same limited resources, and so our void turns into a battleground. So which replicator will win? What kind of properties will the void favor? Well, let's try to simulate what happens.
Now, if you're looking to run your own simulations or need a place to run your own code, look no further than today's sponsor, Hostinger. Say you wanted to keep track of everyday science news. Manually filtering through thousands of articles for the most important or interesting stories would be almost impossible, but Hostinger lets you easily automate this process. You can use N8N, a platform that lets you automate tasks, but you need a place to host it.
All might look like, let's assign simplified traits to each of the replicators, starting with the first one. This replicator is special, since it's the only one that can form spontaneously from smaller building blocks, so we'll give it a spawn rate. This should be quite rare, so let's set the chance of formation to 1% per time step. Just keep in mind, we're just making these numbers up. The simulation is purely illustrative. Now, once the replicator spawns, let's say it's governed by 3 key traits. First, a death rate, the chance of it falling apart or being destroyed with each time step. Let's set that to be, say, 2%. Second, a replication rate, the chance to copy itself with each time step, let's say 4%. And finally, a mutation rate, the chance a copy comes out mutated. If it's 4%, roughly 1 in 25 copies will be a mutation. So every time a new mutation spawns, it will inherit the replication, death, and mutation stats from its parent, but slightly randomized. Notice that we won't give any of these secondary replicators a spawn rate. They'll only be able to form as mutations from previous generations. So if all of their copies die out, they'll be gone for good. Now, before we run the simulation, I want to quickly shout out the YouTube channel Primer. Our setup was inspired by his amazing in-depth simulations on evolutionary biology. You should really check him out. Okay, let's run it. The graph on the right will show how the populations grow, and this box on the left will show a slice of the void with all the winning replicators in the correct ratios. You can see how the first replicator appears and then immediately disappears, because it just happened to die before it got the chance to replicate. But that's okay, the original replicator can be created from smaller blobs, so it'll come back at some point. This time, it's starting to take off. You can also see that it spawned some mutations, but they're struggling to keep up. Eventually though, superior mutations pop up and start to replicate faster than the original. But you can see almost all of them are growing exponentially, which is unrealistic. That's because we're missing the final piece of our simulation, limited resources. The building
No, I'm not excited for Fatal Frame 2 remake.
blocks should eventually run out. We can simulate this effect by introducing a sort of resource factor to each species' replication rate. This factor should depend on the total number of replicators in the void, n, which we'll also divide with an arbitrary crowding factor, c. C lets us define the maximum number of replicators we'll allow into the void. Say c is 10,000, then once there are 10,000 replicators, the two terms cancel out and drive the replication rate down to 0, meaning none of the replicators will be able to make copies until the population drops again. So let's see how this changes our simulation. Okay, like the last time, the original replicator starts to grow, after which it's quickly taken over by its mutations. But this time, most of these mutation populations start to decline. Because of the scarce resources, the new best population, the Lime 1, actually starts stealing resources from the others. After that, a few more mutations pop up, even more powerful than the Lime. Ultimately, the purple replicator takes over, occupying around 9,000 of the 10,000 available spaces. It completely curbs all the other populations. It goes without saying that the environment plays a massive role in which replicator wins. If you change the environment, you likely change the outcome. But let's look at the stats of the replicator that came out on top this time. That winning species has a replication rate of 20% compared to the 17% average across all populations. Obviously, being able to replicate quickly pays off here. Its death rate is below average. Replicators that fall apart less quickly can make more copies. And finally, it has a 1% mutation rate compared to the average of 3.73%. Although mutations help by injecting diversity, for any single species, fewer mutations mean more faithful copies. If we rerun the simulation, you'll notice the outcomes are always slightly different. But the winning species consistently have high replication and low death and mutation rates. Now, in the real void, things wouldn't have been as simple.
Kid Boo, $22.
Your name?
My name is Ella.
Okay.
Ella, how long have you been living in Chicago?
Like Chicago. So today we're here with?
Miami.
Alright, so look, man, where you from, man?
Right here. Man,
Right here?
what's in that mic, man?
You said what?
What's in that mic, man? That
Nothing.
shit smell bad there, man.
Black History Month or Christmas?
Christmas. Damn, that shit.
Mike.
Inspirational artist. Damn, boy, what the fuck?
That's not funny. Thanks for the donation, Kid Boo.
Instead of just tweaking these 3 stats, the replicators would have to mutate all sorts of different ways to gain an advantage. For example, one replicator might mutate a trait that lets it destroy other individuals, and then use their building blocks to make more copies of itself. This looks like strategy, but it's really just chemistry that gets copied over and over because it helps the replicator survive. Naturally, a risk of offense would likely favor mutations that result in defense. So an opposing replicator might stumble upon a mutation that helps it form protective barriers from nearby materials, letting it endure those attacks. These barriers would also help protect the fragile replicators from environmental damage like UV light. This marks an important threshold. The replicator's traits aren't limited to just determining the properties of the molecules themselves, they can also shape the environment. So by chance, the replicators inevitably mutate in ways that build scaffolding around themselves to increase the chances of their survival. They stumble upon ways of making structures to propel themselves around. They develop senses and ways of storing energy. They even mix, exchange, and steal traits from each other. Through billions of years of trial and error, this scaffolding gets more and more complex, and as a result, the replicators' interactions with the void become exceedingly indirect. They build complex survival machines for themselves, machines whose sole purpose is to protect the replicators inside. These machines became such experts at surviving, they're still around some 4 billion years later. They are...
So it's about that time of year where I can finally start taking Marshall out on more adventures with us outside. But before we do that, I think Marshall needed some new summer outfits. And he wanted to model everything for you guys today. So here we go. Okay, so first up, we got this little flamingo polo, which might actually be the cutest thing I've ever seen him wear. And then pairing it with the hat, pool parties, here we come.
Wow.
We're going with a tropical theme here. I got him this cute little tank and then a reversible rain jacket. I mean, come on. This
Oh my god.
guy is ready for any adventure now. Looking for a tropical rainforest tour guide? Marshall's your guy. I also got him this bathrobe for after his adventure.
Wow.
And tell me that's not the cutest toucan you've ever seen. Oh, and don't worry, I got Leela one too. She is now a sassy little flamingo after bath time. You can check out all of these outfits too on my Chewy storefront. Link is in my bio.
Wow.
Are the bacteria, plants, fungi, and animals all around you. Everything alive, including you, was built as a survival vessel for these replicators. But today, you'd barely recognize them as replicators. Now, we just call them genes. They're hidden deep within every living creature, strands of DNA made from the sequences of A, T, G, and C nucleotides. Now, one of the leading theories is that those earliest replicators were actually something closer to RNA molecules, but then over time, this must have evolved into a more stable system of storing information, the DNA and proteins we use today. They are the code that shapes our traits. We're taught that these traits are here solely to help ensure our survival, the survival of the individual or the species.
But do we have this the wrong way around?
When you have a child, what do you pass on?
The DNA. The genes. Okay, yeah.
These tiny replicators are still fighting the same battle that started billions of years ago, and the logic behind them hasn't changed. The traits just become more convoluted. Replicators that produce traits poorly suited to their environment tend to become less common, while those that produce advantageous traits become more numerous in the population.
So it's not about the fittest individual or group, it's fundamentally about the survival of the fittest genes. They are the core unit of natural selection. But why would natural selection care exactly for the gene? Why not something smaller or something bigger?
Well, for something to undergo selection, it needs to have 3 characteristics. First, it needs to be able to make near identical copies of itself. Second, it needs to exhibit traits that affect its interaction with the environment, which third affect the probability of survival and reproduction of the replicator. Something small, like a single nucleotide, doesn't work, because sure, it'll make identical copies of itself, but alone, it doesn't exhibit a trait that could be selected for. What about something bigger, like a chromosome? Well, each chromosome affects potentially thousands of traits that could influence its survival, but when most creatures reproduce, sections of chromosomes get swapped around, so a chromosome doesn't stay together as a cohesive replicating unit, and
Dodo Donatillers, can you look up to find there's any update on Jordan Peterson's situation? Is he still making content? Or on social media, and also what about his retarded daughter? Well, apparently he's sick and not feeling great. There's not really anything going on. I have a suspicion that Michaela thinks that Jordan Peterson's health problems are related to his carnivore diet. Because right around the same time where she announced her dad was in really bad health, she started eating adding vegetables to her diet. So, yeah, they're blaming it on mold or something, which the whole story doesn't make any sense. She said Jordan was traveling and he was staying in like really shitty, moldy motel rooms. Why is a guy who's a millionaire spending the night in like shitty, moldy motels. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, they're just full of shit. So I have a suspicion that they think it's because of his shitty diet. And, you know, thanks for the donation, though, Dodo.
Therefore, it can't be selected for. But a gene is somewhere in the middle. It's a long enough stretch of DNA that it can independently influence a trait, but it's also short and stable enough to be faithfully copied over into future generations. This is why the gene is the unit of natural selection. This perspective led to one of the most powerful and controversial ways of seeing evolution, one popularized by Richard Dawkins in his book, The Selfish Gene. Based on the work of evolutionary biologists in the 1960s and 70s, and as a response against the then very popular group selection theory, Dawkins argued that just about every trait, from animals helping each other to being completely selfish, is a strategy that helps their genes survive and replicate. Genes that maximize their own survival are the genes that propagate best, even if they do so at the expense of others. Or in Dawkins' words, we are survival machines, robot vehicles blindly programmed to preserve the selfish molecules known as genes.
Now, you might think this framework isn't all that groundbreaking.
I mean, take the emperor penguins in Antarctica, for example. They hesitate to jump into the water until they are sure there are no seals around. So what kind of genes could help a penguin survive in this environment? Well, if the penguin's set of genes make it more likely to be timid, the penguin might stay back until someone braver tests the water. That way, the penguin is at a lower risk of being eaten and has a better chance of surviving, reproducing, and passing on its timid genes. Here, you can think about this either as the timid genes help the penguin, or the penguin helps the timid genes. Either way works.
So is there any real benefit to viewing things from the gene's perspective? Well, look at what happens when you use these two frameworks to explain altruistic behavior, which appears in a lot of places in nature.
Take California ground squirrels, for example. Females will let out alarm calls if they spot a predator, like a fox or a hawk, to warn other nearby squirrels, even though this puts her survival at risk. The genes influencing this behavior surely don't help this squirrel. But can the squirrel still help the genes?
I think this is a bit more clear if you think about the fact that most living things reproduce sexually.
Right.
So a squirrel will get half its DNA from its mom and half from its dad, so it's actually sharing half its genes with each parent. But also, any child that it has, it's also going to share half of its genes with the child, but also any siblings. But then if you take a step out to an uncle or out to a grandparent, then it's sharing 1/4, and then another step out is 1/8. All to say, you share a lot of genes with your immediate family. And California ground squirrels, females in particular, they live around family.
So if a squirrel has a set of genes that make her call out when she spots a predator, there is a very good chance that the squirrels that hear her warning call also carry those genes. Now, as a result of her alarm call, let's say the squirrel attracts a predator her way and it ends up getting eaten. This action costs the call genes the chance to pass themselves on to any future offspring in that squirrel. But if the warning call saved at least 2 copies of those genes in 2 of the squirrel's relatives, well then in total, these 2 squirrels have a better chance of passing on the genes through their offspring than that single squirrel did. From the gene's perspective, this could be a good trade-off. It doesn't matter which individual helps the genes replicate, only that as many copies as possible survive.
This principle, that altruistically helping your close relatives helps preserve your own genes, is known as kin selection.
And the payoff behind any altruistic gesture under kin selection depends heavily on how related you are to the individuals you're helping. Because the less related you are, the smaller the chances that you will share that particular gene with another individual.
And you can see this in nature. Male squirrels that don't live near relatives almost never give out warning calls. Now, there is a big question this gene-centric view still has to address. If selection really favors genes that replicate well, then why would sex ever evolve as a means of replication if it throws away roughly half the genes?
Most animals reproduce sexually, so why do it when some organisms, like certain plants and fungi, get to pass on all of their genes through asexual reproduction? From a gene's perspective, this seems like a much better deal. When it comes to sexual reproduction, people like to say, okay, well, it mixes up the genes. It's like shuffling a deck of cards, and isn't that better for creating more variation? And clearly, like, that's advantageous.
Another way this has been explained is if the genes that regulate sexual reproduction benefit from replicating sexually, then they're going to keep pushing for these genes.
Right.
Even if it's a net negative to all the other genes in the genome.
Yeah.
So if it benefits them, they'll keep pushing for it.
So are there any problems with how the selfish gene explains natural selection? Well, yes. I mean, it turns out the framework comes with a lot of controversy. One of the biggest criticisms against the selfish gene is that it leaves little to chance.
It implies that every gene present in the genome is there because it actively got selected for by natural selection over many generations.
But many genes are actually invisible to natural selection because they don't really exhibit meaningful traits in the population. Yet they can still evolve over time.
Imagine 20 blind cavefish, 10 with green eyes and 10 with blue. Since they're blind, we'll assume that their eye color traits make no difference to their survival, so they get passed down purely by chance. Now, to form the next generation, randomly pick any fish from the first group and replicate it. If you repeat this 20 times, you get a second generation. By chance alone, one color will probably appear more often than the other, and if you repeat this process over
Well, yeah, genetic drift is a huge contributor.
and over many generations, one color might eventually completely take over. That's not because it's better, but purely due to random sampling. This shift in the frequency of gene variants is called genetic drift. It's most apparent in small populations and for traits that aren't pruned by natural selection. But it doesn't only apply to silent genes.
Even when genes exhibit meaningful traits, there is a chance that genetic drift overrides natural selection and a less fit gene will spread through the population just by chance.
Look back at our replicator battle. If we run our simulation enough times, sometimes the winning gene won't be the one with traits that maximize its own survival. Here, you can see that the winning population actually has a higher than average mutation rate, just by chance, and the average mutation rate is also higher than the starting value.
These are simplified examples, but there is an ongoing argument about how much of evolution was actually due to natural selection and how much of it was up to chance. Another major criticism of the selfish gene is about the unavoidable implication behind the word selfish. It seems to imply that genes have agency, like they know what they're doing and they understand the consequences, but it's only a metaphor, just as portraying them as characters was a way for us to make the story more engaging. Of course, molecules don't know what they're doing. They don't decide to replicate or conspire to outcompete others. They just react according to the laws of physics. So what may look like intention is just simple chemistry that happens to work well and propagates. But perhaps the most obvious and easiest to understand criticism is that the whole framework is an oversimplification.
And that's true. Genes are much more complicated than we thought. It's not as simple as one gene equals one trait. One gene can influence many traits, and one trait can be influenced by many genes. There are genes that are wholly contained within other genes. There are genes that inhibit or activate others, and then there are even genes that seem to not encode for anything, the so-called non-coding DNA. All to say, we still have a lot to learn about genes. Not to mention that the environment itself, like whether it's hot or cold or how much food there is, also affects how different genes get expressed. Genes are much less deterministic than they might seem.
So you might think that a single gene would rarely have a large enough effect that natural selection can directly impact it. But it doesn't matter how convoluted the pathway is. If a gene has a measurable effect on its own survival and replication, it will be subject to some amount of natural selection. And surely the whole theory is a simplification, but any theory or framework of nature is. And what we're covering in this video is an even more simplified picture of that framework. But that doesn't take away the fact that viewing the world through this lens has an incredible power to help us understand the process of evolution.
It helps us understand why we see such a range of different behaviors in our world, because fundamentally those traits tend to cause the increasing prevalence
I really like toucans. That deer's also pretty.
Of the genes they're associated with.
I like elephants.
It's like, the whole point is figure out what's true. Like, get to the truth. And this, to me, is the baseline truth of evolution. Is what I love about making Veritasium, is that we get to sort of unpack and dig under the hood. And it's what I loved about reading the Selfish Gene book. So it really opened my eyes to this, previously I always just probably thought at the level of the individual. But it makes more sense to think at the level of the gene. The feeling that you and every other living organism is being driven by some molecules deep in every cell is fundamentally unsettling and seems to remove agency
Who
from
do
you.
you think is taking care of Frank's guts while he's in Japan? Also, how is Frank able to afford to travel to Japan and get a cosmetic surgery, when he has no money and is being sued for hundreds of thousands of dollars?
It's almost as if he's lying about how much money he has. I have no idea who's taking care of his goats. Best case scenario, I guess it would be one of his employees. Worst case scenario, he figured the goats would be fine on their own for a week or something, and they're all gonna die. But I can guarantee you that goat thing is not gonna work out too well. One way or another. Thanks for the donation, though, Blackberry. I have a shilly, cuddly kitty on me. See this little kitty cuddling? He's a shilly little cuddle cat. I love him. Yeah, I love you.
As a acting, thinking being in the world.
Yeah, it's pretty grim, but whether or not you agree with the fact that we might be controlled by our genes and we're simply their flesh robots,
right?
I think it's kind of unreasonable and unrealistic to go through life thinking that every decision is governed by this. It doesn't really do you any good because we perceive the world as individuals. So I think it's very beneficial to see yourself as your own thing, as your own, unit.
I'm going to go to bed now. I had a lot of sleepy sleeps today. I'll try to not be sleepy tomorrow. Been having sleep problems lately. So, been having the stream start at weird times and shit. But, you know, I'll try to not do that for tomorrow. Yeah, I'm gonna compete, like, next year, probably. But, yeah, I'll be on tomorrow. Big thanks to everybody who donated on Streamlabs. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Nighty night.